I'm going to call this meeting to order. And I'll remind everybody, cell phones should be silent, that our meeting may require devoted formal board meeting rules such that visitors speaking and participation will be limited to 2 minutes during agenda action items and visitor participation. I am going to move on to roll call. Carla Pennington Cross. Here. Ben Nguyen.
Here.
Andrew Franklin.
Here.
Karen Cronwell. Here. And Danielle Bailey is here. Moving on to item 1C. A motion.
I will make a motion under item 1C to recess into closed session pursuant to section 1985 1C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically to review the administration's recommendations for staffing reductions specific to the 24-25 school year.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to move into closed section pursuant to statute 1985 1C. I'll do a roll call vote. Karen Cronwell. Aye. Andrew Franklin.
Aye.
Ben Nguyen.
Aye.
Carla Pennington Cross.
Aye.
And Danielle Bailey votes aye. Motion passes. We will now move into closed session in the boardroom. We will reconvene into our open session at 6:30 in this location.
Oh, okay. So I just want to acknowledge that there are a lot of you here tonight. Thank you for coming and being engaged with our community. We are back in open session after a brief recess, and now would be the time where I could entertain a motion on any actions stemming from the closed session.
Right, I will make the motion to approve the administration's recommendations for staffing reductions specific to the 2024-25 school year as discussed in closed session.
Second. There's a motion and a second to approve the administration's recommendations for staffing reductions specific to the 24-25 school year. I'm going to do a roll call vote. Karen Cronwell. Aye. Andrew Franklin.
Aye.
Ben Nguyen.
Aye.
Carla Pennington Cross.
Aye.
Danielle Bailey votes aye. The motion passes. I will briefly speak on that, and then I will move to visitor participation on this item. Okay, so that was an extremely vague vote. And I know that is why probably many of you are here. So I do want to talk about it. I want to talk about what I can share right now, and know that we plan to communicate out with families following this meeting with more information as well. The vote that we just made was to approve approximately $1 million in cuts to staffing. This was the first step that we had to take right away due to non-renewal deadlines, and also because of feedback we received during budget sessions with staff, and in consideration of their requests to be notified as soon as possible. The reductions are primarily through attrition, through retirement and resignation. The reductions we are making right now will have a minimal impact on programming, and they will have no impact on class sizes. I am sure you will want more specific information because we value and respect our staff. I can't speak to specifics because we want to give our administrators time to speak with any individuals impacted. And so to respect them and to make sure that they get the news first in person and not through the news and not through a statement, we're going to give them a little bit of time to do that. They will be doing that before spring break soon. And then we as a board will be able to share more specific information as the hope. I want to say that I want to give a huge thank you to our administrative team who's working really hard right now because they understand the gravity of this situation. And as we are exploring solutions to our budget deficit, it really feels like there's true alignment between the administration and the board right now. We are all thinking about the same things. We are working collaboratively. We are open to feedback. We are open to disagreement. And most importantly, we're operating under the value that we're putting students first. The administrative team has provided us with lots of information, and they've been responsive to concerns that we've raised as a board on behalf of the community. And I will speak for the board, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we all believe and we are confident this plan is the right thing to do. So that's my brief-ish comment for now. In alignment with our visitor participation policy, we do allow folks to speak on agenda action items. So that will be limited to this staffing reduction vote. Please note we have a full docket of board business tonight, including celebrations, including having student ambassadors here, including talking about our monthly financial report and budget update from our business manager. So some comments that are not about the staffing reduction, I may refer back to, you'll have time in our meeting to comment on later agenda items. And there's also a public comment section that is for non-agenda items. So the other piece of that is that generally we reserve this time for district residents, taxpayers, staff, families, students. I know that we have guests here tonight who may not fall into those categories, but we will allow everyone to participate. And just keep in mind that we need to be efficient, we need to be respectful of everyone's time here, and we need time to discuss all of our agenda, not just this item. So that being said, if you would like to make a comment or ask a question, I would ask you to, yes, raise your hand. I'll see how many folks I might be looking at. See one.
I think there might be a couple more.
Okay. So what I'll do is if you are able, or if you want to state your name, state your address or affiliation. Oh, thank you. Oh, great. Do you wish to speak during public? Okay, go ahead. This is just the sign then.
Just for clarity, this is not public comment, this is just a speak.
Public comment is on non-agenda items. This is about the action we just took. That's correct. And that, yeah, okay. So, yeah.
I'm Bruce Broker. I live on 2151 West Bernard Road.
Sorry, one moment, sir. I just want to make sure everyone can hear you.
I can speak loud enough. My name is Bruce Broker. I live at 2151 West Bernard Lane. Now, usually before you take a vote, my understanding is you open up for discussion with the people you represent. Why wasn't that done tonight? You took a vote and then you open it up for discussion. You did that backwards. That's poor representation.
I think you might be right. I think our past practice would be after a presentation to allow visitor participation. I think I was trying to give context to that vote before or after it was taken because I couldn't give context to it before. So I apologize. That would be on me.
I mean, we need clarity on what our board is doing and we haven't been getting it. And this is just another example.
Yeah, I appreciate that feedback and I will keep that in mind going forward. But if you have something specific to add about the action or the budget, I'm definitely willing to.
I'll speak to the budget later.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else wish to participate? Okay, please stand. Or I'm sorry, I'm sorry, that was just state your name and affiliation. And if you'd like to come up here, you can.
That's okay.
Okay,
James All, 2115 West Applewood Lane. I grew up in this district. My children went through this district. I've been a PTO president. I've been a school board president. I thank you for your jobs. It is a thankless job. It's a tough job. In the past, this district has been through a lot. This district will get through it. But I just want to say that we teach our children accountability, consequences, being truthful, transparency, equity. Right now, I don't think that's happening. We're bad teachers. And it's the adults that are doing this. The way that the news has spun, that this is because of teacher salary, puts such a bad light on our teachers. It's not their fault. They need to be thanked. They need to be applauded. They need to be worked with. They need to be heard. That's not happening in this district. This district is what, 2,000 kids? How many? 2,500?
1,000.
How much?
1,000.
1,000, okay? Good old Bob Catman, which I'm sure a lot of y'all know him. He did a study on merging districts. He did all that. We are our own district. We are a valued commodity in this district. But if the transparency and the consequences and the accountability don't happen, you will never get support from this community. I'm not only talking about the people that have students in the community. I don't anymore. But I still live in this community and I value this community. I value the reputation of this community. And right now, the administration has really put a black cloud over that. And I think, and I'm pleading with you to do damage control on that. It's really tough to point fingers at other people. We need to take ownership on this. The administration needs to take all accountability on it. The community right now is not believing anything. Just saying it. They're not believing anything. Why would they? Why should they? Would you? Value our teachers.
I hear you. I hear that you're upset, and I totally do understand that emotion. I know Carla can speak to this because we've had these discussions as a board, but I can't control what the news writes, and I am doing my best to be transparent and engaged with them to talk to them about everything going on in our district. There is a record of us being transparent and being open about this in June. I'm sorry. Beginning October. No, wait, I'm just feeling like I need to stay on talking about staffing reductions, but I do want to speak to your point because in June, we were told there was a budget surplus. In October, we learned that we were facing a deficit. Everybody kicked into high gear in that moment to understand why, to push for answers and better information. And you can see that there is a public record of us doing that openly and candidly and passionately and with, just putting it all out there, our administrators and us as well. So I think I don't want to defend us because it's not about us. There were mistakes and I do believe that the board has a role in that, and I've spoken to that on many occasions in board meetings. There was a miss in not communicating to the community. It was discussed. There was a lot going on, and prioritizing, our students maybe meant, that we missed that area of communication. And I pride myself on, accountability and transparency and communication. So I would implore you and anybody who doesn't believe us about what's going on to go back through the record, because the only close to pretty accurate, comprehensive, I would say, article that has been written to date is the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel one that was posted recently. Everything else has picked and chose from meetings prior. They have found us in our most human moments when we are learning about these things. And I'm sorry, I think that I may be getting off track. I know Carla will speak to accountability, right? And to a degree, and I think that is an important thing to talk about.
Yeah, and I do appreciate you bringing up the issue of accountability. We've been talking about that a lot as a board. And reflecting a lot on what that looks like. and I'll just say this up front because it's come up. I mean, I appreciate you saying that it's the news spinning that the story is about teacher raises. I'm proud of the raises we've given teachers and the work that we've done to help move us towards living wages. We had inaccurate information on our ability to afford a lot of expenditures, but I'm not blaming teacher salaries. Teacher salaries are what we do because we educate students through teachers. So please know that I am not, and I have not heard any other board member blaming teacher salaries for the reason where we are. That's number one. Number two, on accountability, I think there's a difference between accountability and a pound of flesh. I'm not given to shame or to walking away. I've had one person tell me I should resign and be ashamed of myself. That's not accountability. Quitting isn't accountability. And I see that very much as modeling for students. My accountability is through the work I've been doing. I counted because people are saying we haven't been open. We've had more than 20 meetings, most of those in open session since October to talk about budget. We've had so many meetings about budget that some teachers showed up at a meeting 1 or 2 meetings ago asking us to please talk about something else. That's open and transparent we've been. That's how seriously we take this. And if you haven't seen that record, you can find it on board docs. You can find all the documents. You can find the reading, the materials we're looking through, hours and hours and hours of open meeting and closed meeting deliberations, not to mention all the additional hours off the record each of us is bringing into this community to figure out how to solve these problems. Not to mention all the uncounted hours our administrators have brought to this. So I want you to know that that's how I see accountability, the hard work that I'm doing. My accountability is to stand here and try to fix this and to take the hits, because that's what we're doing. And I'm happy to sit here and get passionate about it. We know that's the role we accepted when we joined the school board. And if you've been on the school board, then you too know what that feels like. So I just want to share my viewpoint on that. I'm working really hard not to let the news cycle drive my thinking. And I know we're all working really hard as a team to let our students and our staff and our community drive our thinking and to do the right thing there. And to me, again, that feels like accountability. So thank you for your comment. Thanks for reminding us that we're all in it together. Yeah, please.
Thank you.
Hello. Hi. Samantha Malone. I'm a literacy coach and interventionist currently at Glen Hills. And as a current teacher, I would really like to thank the board and I would really like to thank our administration team. They have been very transparent with us. At every staff meeting, we get updates about what is happening. And this is the strongest admin team I've ever worked for in my 12 plus years of teaching. So thank you. I truly appreciate that. If you're only getting your news and your information about this from some short news stories, then I truly encourage you to hold off making an opinion until you viewed everything in the public record. So thank you. Yes.
And this is about staffing reduction. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
2 minutes. Yeah, we're gonna. That's our.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking time to hear everyone out and out. So I spent, speak specifically.
Sorry, could you state your name and address or affiliation?
Aaron Norris, community member, live at 7240 Huron Road in Glendale. So I appreciate you guys taking time and I echo a lot of the thoughts. Appreciate all your time. I know this is essentially a volunteer job and you guys really care about the school district and I appreciate all that you're doing. I also agree with some of the comments made about the news story. I know that's not the full picture. I mean, I've watched a lot of board doc meetings. I know that you guys doing this job in West Dallas, I know that you guys are only privy to information you're shared with, right? So if you're not shared with everything, then you're in the blinds with it, right? So I spent a few hours this weekend putting together kind of a staffing analysis report. I know that's not a complete picture, given I'm not privy to all the information the administrative team is as well, right? But I do know that working in West Dallas, we receive around 30% less funding per kid than you guys do. Like what our staffing ratios look like as compared to yours. So I would urge you to take a look at that, because when I hear, budget deficits of minus $3 million, not sure if that's accurate. I asked Allison for the audit report, it's not back yet, so I get that. To me, $1 million is like light, right, when I look at that. So I would urge you guys to look at this, like climbing out of that is gonna take years, and tearing down a house can take a day. And it takes years to build it. And so like fixing this problem, I know it like might have to get felt a little bit, but a lot of school districts do with far less than the resources you guys have. And the community already is the ninth highest mill rate in the state of Wisconsin. So going to the community, especially after you guys approved a levy increase for the Fund 80 levy last year of almost $1.7 million, to me, like, I know the comments around the referendum have come up around staffing. To me, it's something you guys really should consider as you guys proceed. So just wanted to share that with you guys, and I'll conclude that.
Could we respond or ask
Sure,
you a
yeah,
question?
sure, yeah.
Or I mean, I don't know if anybody over here might want to think about that, but this is a first step that we made because of timing. So that $1 million is the first step, and we are thinking short-term and long-term planning. So I do believe that the administration is considering, rightfully so, considering long-term as well as the business manager. So this was more of a timing issue and a consideration of our staff. So I understand what you're saying. I have to confirm that mill rate being the ninth highest.
I have it for the public comment.
Okay, okay.
But yeah, on the last page, if you turn to that, I broke it down by regular ed staff, intervention specialists, support staff, student services, as compared to other districts
So you work with,
in West Dallas.
oh, okay. And do you guys do you utilize referendum?
We have not asked in, I think, 2 years, and we received around $11,000 per student, whereas in Glendale, you guys receive over 13,000 per student.
But are you familiar with our referendum history?
Your history, yeah, I know you guys
It's
currently,
about every 5 years, I think, if you've done
Yeah.
something.
sure.
Don't quote me on that,
Yeah.
I can confirm, but right, so
And
I
that's
guess
fine.
in
So
public
if
education.
you currently have a referendum on the books, replacing it provides no additional increase to the community. But when you approve a Fund 80 levy that was 5 times the amount that it normally has, the community got a tax levy increase for me, or for the community for no different reason.
No, our mill rate is not,
You've got our mill rate confused with someone else's. Our
Yeah.
mill rate is actually quite low. I've pulled up the DPI list of mill rates.
Yeah, you have to combine it with Nicolay though,
Yeah, but that's not our.
why would we combine our mill?
because the community, in this community, they pay for Glendale-River Hills and Nicolay. So
Right, but you
K-12
said-
district,
But
You're here talking to this school board.
No,
and
no,
you
I-
said our mill rate is the ninth highest in the state, but
for
that's
sure,
not
yes.
accurate.
If you could, if you remove non-feeder schools, yes. And I,
Our mill rate is
Again,
actually quite low compared to many
I don't think
districts.
it was raised.
Right, so,
But I understand what you're saying, the impact on the community is felt differently than
and
what our
and the
district
tax
does, and
levy
that's
piece,
a
the
good
tax,
consideration.
the tax levies are separate of mill rates, they're separate, I know you guys know that, but they're separate things, so.
Okay, no, I appreciate this.
and Danielle, just a point of clarification, with regards to first phases, this is the staff reduction that we approved for next year. We, at this point in time, do not anticipate considering additional staff reductions. The additional budget reductions that we're considering are non-staff reductions. They have to do with like not student programming, like other ways that we can manage our resources more efficiently. And I just wanted to clarify that for the audience, because we truly did do this in the order we did, because our staff came to us and said, we need to know. And we need to know in a timely manner to be able to manage our futures if we have to.
Sure.
And we love our staff and we honor them and we deeply respect the work they do. So this is our response to them. But thank you for these numbers, and I think we'll be better able to respond to them when we have time to look at them.
Sure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank
Yes. Is there anyone else in the audience? Okay. I got two. Okay, all right. I saw yours first.
Chrissy Russell, K-5 teacher at Parkway.
You want
My
to come up?
question is, of the $1 million, can you give a breakdown? What is support staff, certified staff, and administrative staff?
So that would be speaking to the specifics that might identify specific employees. It will, the goal is to talk to anyone impacted tomorrow, right? And so by Friday, I do believe administration is working on, do you want to, I don't want to speak for you, but
You will receive that communication from administration on Friday, after we've had an opportunity to respect those individuals who are impacted by this.
and then I saw a hand over here. Yes.
Randy Nelson, 6930 North Ironwood Lane. I was gonna ask a similar question, but maybe you can answer this. Can you tell us how many staff members will be laid off? Not who they are, just how many, the number.
It's not right. So it's primarily through resignation and retirement, through attrition.
But how many
And-
people will be leaving?
We're, I know it sounds like, I don't want to sound evasive, but we're working really hard not to get into those details until the individuals can be spoken with individually. We really want to respect that staff deserve to hear if they're going to be losing their jobs somewhere other than here.
Won't identify anyone. When
Some have been announced publicly, some
That's
resignations
true.
and
There are already-
retirements.
We've accepted some resignations publicly recently. I will tell you, I think Friday, we can give you that percentage. We could possibly speak, I think we could speak to numbers. Yeah,
and when will this go into effect? What period?
this is for the 24-25 school year, so nothing is changing
Nothing.
in this year, correct? And next year, so we'll be able to talk about what next year is going to look like on Friday. I mean, that's the goal. Yeah. Share the specifics.
Right. And just for the record, I'm in the town of Flashing Hills.
Okay. That's fair. Okay. Anyone else in this room that would like to? And do we have online?
We do. My first question regarding our online comments is they do have to state their address, correct?
Address or affiliation.
Okay, two of the three have, so I'll start with the first one. The first one is from Ashley Robertson, who is at 5515 North Shasta Drive. Ashley would like to say that she's been following the situation since January. The board has been more than accountable in this situation. They ask for help. They got people involved who are very experienced in these types of situations. As a parent of 2 children in Parkway, do not rely on the news for your source of truth. Everything is public record. Go back and listen. Thank you, school board, for grinding through this very difficult situation. Next comment question is from Nate Gilman. Nate Gilman is at 2500 West Brantwood Avenue and has 2 children in 4th and 7th grade. Nate Gilman says, you tell us you're accountable, but you have not given us any information on how this happened. You tell us you're accountable, but you make $1 million budget cuts in secret. You say you're transparent, but you won't tell us what the cuts are. We have grossly different definitions of accountable. With secret meetings, no information on anything, why should parents believe you have the best interest of our kids?
I mean, I hear that he's upset. That's what I hear, and I understand that. I will just go back to our record, and if you go to the public record, we are talking about the ways in which there was overspending over the last couple of years in our budget. And that as a board, we have approved that spending because we received inaccurate information. Now, as a board, we rely on our in-house experts. We rely on our administrators. We presume competence. And so we have been just, we have been as transparent with the information we are given when we are given it. If you go back through the record, you will see that. Our secret meetings are, I mean, we publicly notice them. We specifically say what we're talking about. I mean, we go into those meetings out of respect for our staff when we're talking about staffing reductions specifically. Again, we can agree to disagree about whether we should give those names to you first, or we should engage with our staff like they're human beings and they deserve that respect, and we respect what they've been doing for our kids by having a conversation with them first. And I believe that that is the right thing to do. And 48 hours is all we are asking you to wait. And I know you have been waiting longer than that. And I understand that that is frustrating. It just is, that is what it is right now. And putting our students first, we're putting our staff very close second. And yeah, so that's all I want to say. I don't know if anybody else wants to speak to that. I appreciate the feedback. Just gonna keep trying to do my best here, so.
Nate did respond back asking if he could respond to your response. Is that okay?
We've got 2 minutes.
Okay, so Nate Gilman of the same address, says the board hired Allison Weiss, yes. The board oversaw the admin, yes. You oversaw all of this, yet you are not giving us anything but trust us.
Well, I'm sorry, I would. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you.
At this time, there are no more online comments. Just so you're aware, there are now 99 attendees online.
Well, I just want, no, I wouldn't say trust us. I'm asking you to have confidence in us and that it can be verified in the record. Go back through the record, look at what we're doing, look at our candor, look at how hard we're trying, look at the effort we're putting in.
All right,
Can I say something real quick?
please.
I'm gonna say this, but let me finish it. I'm gonna say, don't trust us. Give us an opportunity to show you what we are doing. Look at what we are giving you and what we've walked through. Look at what we have documented so far. Believe me when I say each and every one of us not only wants all the answers as community members and parents, the people devoted to this community. Not only do we all want these answers instantly, but we know everyone does. And we can't give that to you because there's still questions that we have and things that we have to go through. For us, transparency is not only a goal, but a process. We are doing everything that we can to bring you as much as we can. And so I think that what Ms. Bailey is saying, what Ms. Pennington Cross has also ultimately said is that we have been here, we have been responsive, we have answered the questions, and we have provided the information that we can. But we were given bad information. We were given information that we relied on. And that information does color the decision that we made. But at the end of the day, while we don't believe that we're responsible for causing the situation, and in fact, did everything that we could, not only to prevent things like this from happening, but also to respond swiftly. And we have been responding with immediacy since October. But not only have we engaged in our response and our action before then as swiftly as we could, we're going to continue to do that moving into the future. This isn't done, this is the process. And so when I say don't trust us, what I mean is give us that opportunity to document, to show you. And we didn't cause the situation, but we are going to be responsible for getting us out of the situation. Because the situation doesn't just affect taxpayers, it affects teachers, it affects students. And that is all we're saying. So transparency is very important to us. We are trying to live up to that. But it is not something that can just snap on and snap off.
I think with regards to the area, the point of conversation in our agenda, I think that unless there's additional community comments, which of course we welcome, we would be ready to move to the next piece.
Which is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. Is there additional? Okay.
You may stand.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are moving on to item 1F, agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any objections? The agenda is approved. All right, we are moving on to public comments, and this is the time where you may speak on a non-agenda item. So, do I have anybody who would like to speak on a non-agenda, online or in person? Oh, okay.
My name is Amy Lingard, physical education teacher at Parkway. I live in Wauwatosa and just happened today to get this amazing community education resource packet from their school district. I think they're jumping way ahead to 2075, but I thought the information in it was super informative. And I just wanted to leave it with you guys as an example of, I know their district's much bigger, but they covered lots of different budget topics, and I thought it might be great to help educate our community and our staff, and I just thought it was useful. So I just wanted to leave it with you.
Thank you. I'll tell you, we have our eye on their budget communications already because they are doing a good job of talking about their budget deficit and informing their community. And I would like to see us doing this when we have very solid information to share about our constituent, but we can also do some of this general education, I believe, through our website and through opportunities here too. So I appreciate that. Sure. Thank you. Any other public comments on a non-agenda item? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome back. What do you want to talk to us about?
So I have a couple things I wanted to hit on quick. I have a brief amount of time, so
Mr. Norris, to turn on your mic, just press the button at the bottom.
thank you.
Right.
So just a couple things here. Aaron Norris, 7240 North Parent Road.
Sure. Could you give us the topic? What you're about to cover?
Sure, it's the budget and then also on one of the agenda items.
Okay, so I will just, public comment is reserved for non-agenda items.
Sure.
So when we get to the budget item tonight, and after anything is presented, I will open it up for visitor participation on that. Yeah,
Sure.
thank you. It was just budget, you said?
Yes.
No, it's okay. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Appreciate your engagement. Thank you. Okay, any other public comments on non-agenda items? No.
There was just one regarding the teaching positions again from closed session, but if that time is over, okay.
Yeah, but I do. Right.
Okay.
Then we get to move on to something that I hope will make everybody smile. And this is in response to some feedback we got from our amazing teachers who wanted us to remind everybody that while we face this budget issue, that there's a lot of good stuff going on in our districts, and our teachers are still bringing their best selves to our kids and just doing what they do best, right? Which is empowering them all to thrive. And so I'm going to turn it over to our administrative team to talk about celebrations.
Okay. Here we go. The Glendale-River Hills School District and the Board of Education would like to recognize the following. So, and if you look at the screens as well, everything that we're going to be talking about, you'll see on the screens. So we'd like to congratulate the Parkway music teacher, Miss Karen Sharnick, for coordinating and organizing a successful spring concert this month. at Parkway. First, second, and third graders all performed wonderful weather-related musical selections. And this has been the first time since we had COVID. So this was a huge, amazing event. So it was held twice last week. So it was pretty amazing. We'd also like to thank the Parkway Student Council, the entire third grade student body with Miss Ishii. Worked with people to donate and package over 350 sandwiches. There were staff members all helping, supporting students. They had assembly lines going. I was there, and those gloves with the kids it was an amazing event. They had kids doing the bread, the cheese, the meat, and wrapping them all up, and they all had hand signed little cards that they put with them. So you can see the pictures. It was an amazing event. The students were so focused and really wanted to have the best filled sandwiches for all the people that they were going to be sharing with at the guest house Milwaukee. So they really did a nice job dedicating that time and the effort in implementing the service project over the course of the school year. So this will be a culminating activity.
All right, we'd also like to give a shout out to the following Parkway students in junior nights youth wrestlers for qualifying for the youth state wrestling tournament taking place on Friday. First grader Malachi Singer and second graders Royal Panacucci and Magnus Vanderbush. This is Magnus's second time qualifying for state. Additionally, the following Glendale students and junior nights youth wrestlers have also qualified for last week's youth state wrestling tournament. Fifth graders Sergio Caban and Kale Vanderbush, and seventh grader Mario Panacucci. This is Mario's second time qualifying for state.
As we move on, thank you to all the Glendale staff and students who have made this year's Mike Birmingham Black History Showcase, Black Excellence in Arts, such a success. There were absolutely incredible student academic presentations, art pieces, music performances, and even a wax museum. Next, congratulations to our 8th grade state chess champions. This is the second year in a row. This is the same group of students received first place at the Wisconsin Scholastic Chess Federation's annual grade level championship. Shout out to teammates Nicholas Pennington Cross, Jameson Francis, Owen Robbins, and Elena Johansson. In addition, Nicholas was placed in the top 5 players as an individual for his grade level.
All right, there's more. Congratulations to the forensics team for the numerous power rounds, medals, and trophies they've received throughout the year. Additionally, an extra congratulations to the following students for qualifying for state. There's quite a list. All combined. Morgan Coleman Rainey, Baruch Denis. Did I get that right? Did I get that right? Yes, okay. Morgan Stangsdale, Alani Grant, Samantha Jones, Ian Krosnick, Carmen Marema, Logan McMahon, Melena Meinhardt, Brandy Nash, Olivia Nelson, Erica Pendleton, Malia Pope, Riley Ransaw Nelson, David Smans Geyer, London Underwood, Emma Hui, and Amir Wesley. Also, congratulations to all of the students who competed in the regional science fair at Nicolay. Special shout out to the regional winners, Benjamin Byers, Olivia Whelan, DeAndre Hatch Jr., and Liliana Johnston. Congratulations to the state qualifiers, Caleb Cantrell, Baruch Denis, thank you, Christopher Shelley, DeAndre Hatch Jr., Liliana Johnston, Logan McMahon, and David Smansgeyer. Finally, a special shout out to both Benjamin Byers and Olivia Whalen for qualifying for national. Oliver Whalen, sorry guys.
Congratulations to the following students for qualifying state after their performances at the Southeast Wisconsin Regional German Pronunciation Contest. Seventh graders. Mayella Avalos, Zoe A. Melena Meinhardt, Briga Rutherford, and Oliver Whalen. In eighth graders, Angelique Clark, Jameson Francis, Karanja Jaguna, Lily Ormsby, and Sam Sparks. And congratulations to Battle of the Books regional finalists, fourth graders. Elora Smans-Geyer, Weston Bailey, and Samuel Pack. Sixth graders, Parker Craig, Emma Lippo, and Emma Kramer. Special congratulations to regional winners, fifth graders, Judah Hess, Kale Vandenbush, and Logan Boyd.
Just a couple more. All right, so congratulations to all the Glen Hills musicians that performed at the Regional Solo and Ensembles Festival. Special congratulations to Ellie Kravitsky, Isaac Lippo, and Marla Truick for qualifying for state. And then finally, congratulations to Miss Morale and all the Glen Hills scholars on their successful NASA experiments as Miss Morale tested them in a zero gravity flight in Florida this month. Ms. Morale is currently in Colorado presenting their findings to the National Conference of Science Education. A documentary about these incredible achievements will soon be available to the public. And finally, I wanted to give a shout out. I was at Parkway this morning. They had their crew and there was an amazing activity that happened, and all the staff and teachers are building such solid relationships with students across grade levels that it's an amazing activity that happens once a month. So thank you for letting me be a part of that.
I would like to invite our student ambassadors to consider, I'm sorry,
There is a related public comment about the achievements. Is that-
celebration.
Yep.
Sure, please.
Stephen Trigg of 2138 West Apple Tree Road. It says Nicolay was recently supporting its Fear robotics team. Does Glen Hills have a first Lego robotics team? And if so, can the school circulate information about the team? Mr. Franklin, did you want to speak to?
Yeah, my son was involved with it for years. It's a great program. I believe that Mr. Smajian is actually the contact person for FLL. He's also involved going into Fear at Nicolay. So I'm not sure the correct answer is to reach out to him directly or not, but you know, the team is a wonderful team to be involved in.
Yeah, that's what they're referring. I know him and I can give him the
Yep.
information.
And I would also like to say that there have been so many wonderful achievements that have been coming my way. So I actually have scheduled posts of some of the ones you've seen today. So some of them have not been made public on our Facebook yet, but please know they're in the works. So just lots to celebrate. So congratulations to all.
Thank you. I want to celebrate Taylor because you're doing an amazing job of working up with our communications and social media pages, sharing out the good stuff. That's how you do. So thank you for supporting that. And now on to item 3B. So student ambassadors, we have Braden Tomei and Janelle Aquin Perez. I'm sorry if I am botching those names. Please come and correct me. Come and have a seat with us if you'd like. So as a board, we've recently begun this initiative to invite student ambassadors to attend their meetings to talk to us about anything on their minds as a student. And it's just an attempt to engage with our student body and get to know what things are like for them in this district. So you have anything you want to share with us? Celebrations, opportunities for improvement, any feedback, we would love to hear that from you guys.
Gotta get close to your.
Good evening. My name is Braden Tomei. I'm in 6th grade at Glen Hills Middle School. Thank you for having me at the board meeting. Last night at the dinner table, I had a conversation with my brother and sister about how much we enjoyed the special ways that Miss Lingard and Ms. Sharnick made learning fun for Parkway School. For example, we can remember the super fun haunted gym with rope swings, crossing creepy bugs, riding scooters through the graveyard, and using pippy hoppers to get away from ghosts. Gymnastics and roller skating units were also some of our favorites. Performing in music shows, learning, to play the keyboard and other instruments was fun too. These are some of the most fun memories from Parkway School. I hope these kids in the future will continue this, to have these fun memories. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Janelle Queen Perez. I am here to propose for student athletes and shuttles, also known as school buses. Shuttles will take scholars participating in any after-school, off-campus activities. I feel like it would be less maintenance for parents or legal guardians to worry about their kids going somewhere that parents can't take them to. Most guardians are at work mostly during the time. I feel like most scholars or any after-school participants should be able to have after-school buses for anywhere that they need to go or programs that the school has provided them.
Thank you.
And so if that's all you want to share with us, you're welcome to remain in your seats. You're welcome to go. I think this may be a long meeting, but just whatever you're comfortable with. We're happy to have you here. We're happy to have your input. The transportation issue is something we're going to be talking about a little bit later, and that's a really good thing to keep in mind as that comes to us. So,
Danielle, just to be clear, they're welcome to stay as long as they like, and they can leave at any time.
correct. Those are, yes. Yes, your inaugural ambassador sat with us until almost 11 p.m. And I heard she had some regrets. We appreciate you guys being here and would love to keep engaging with you. So this is not the only way to engage us. You can send me an email. You can add the chat anytime about, your experience and what you think we could be doing. Improving. We are moving on to the superintendent's report. Our superintendent is not present today, but we have Ms. Stick and Ms. Weiss-Kalaki who will be speaking or prepare the items in that report, I should say, and are going to be speaking to us about them. So, yeah, and Jenica, I want to relieve you of the pressure of only going over the expositional memo which you gave us. We're, I think, very interested in the data, but let's do it.
So, yes, so everyone has access to the board report. I just did want to highlight the work that all the staff did in collaboration over the last 2 to 3 years with Nicolay, Foxway, Bayside, and Mapleville, Indian Hill. An amazing group of teachers who came up with those priority standards. We are doing a new process this year after going to that PLC conference. So our teams of teachers at both buildings are working with a guiding coalition to create essential standards. Our goal was 100% mastery of the essential standards. So we're refining this process and going through this for our first year. So know that we've had some, it's a little bit of a roller coaster, and we are going to have to make some adjustments and changes in our processes, in the future after collecting this year-long data. I just want to be clear about that we're all learning as we're going through. So the data that was shared with everyone is our mid-year check. So I just want to verify that with everyone that this is our goal is for end of year data. So not every standard has been taught with this data. So when looking at this holistically, we can see some different nuggets, but we really have to wait till the end of the year to really look at the data holistically for all the grade levels and as a district to really see where we may need to adjust our curriculum, where we might need to adjust our instructional practices, where those things need to happen, because if we haven't instructed on some of the standards yet, we can't make any determination on some of the standards. What we can say is that we are having some nice growth across the board in our essential standards. We can say that we are seeing more mastery in our ELA standards, our essential standards. We already made some adjustments throughout the school year, so you can see on first grade, it's listed as no data. So the teacher teams decided they wanted to change their essential standard. So that's why there's no data there. So we are kind of adjusting as we're going with this. And our guiding coalition will help guide some of those conversations. I think where the work happened is in those teacher teams, doing the work in their PLPs and looking at this data. Based off of this data, teachers had access to this spreadsheet, but they also had their own classroom data. So taking it down to the student level in their classroom and being able to see which students across the board are meeting the standard, are not meeting the standard, who needs extra support, helped guide creating some of the tier 3, tier 2 groups, and then also having conversations of what actions are we going to take. So we kind of looked at if all the students were not meeting the standard that we taught it, then that's something we might want to do in our universal instruction, doing some reteaching, versus if a few students need extra support, maybe that might be a tier 3 or a tier 2 intervention. So it's really the teachers having those collaborative conversations and really looking at the student level, which really moves students toward mastery. So, and I just want you to know that all the teacher teams, the content teams are working so hard to support students and really thinking out of the box and how to do this work. That again, it's our first time through, but everyone is invested and they're really working for meeting these goals. Can I ask you this question? Or I'll wait if you want me to. Oh, and it's a little weird in the document, the protocol that we kind of went through is at the end instead of, I don't know why it's like that. Yes, okay, are grade level teams choosing the standards that they're tracking? The essential standards. So what we did is we had the priority standards because we wanted to have consistent standards for all students going to Nicolay. So everyone had the same footing. So based on those priority standards, which were vertically aligned, the teacher teams, well, originally the coaches did some of this work, but after talking with guiding coalitions, then teachers need to be a little more engaged in the process, right? So that's why there were some changes with some of those standards based on the feedback from teachers. I didn't realize that. I thought it was from the top down, so I like it. And it's probably going to change again next year, right? So based off of what we find this year, then we have to have some conversations. Yeah.
Yeah, Ben, at the next question. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, so real quick, because I read in here that you're evaluating common formative assessments, but so is it that and this might be just confusion on my part, you're measuring the progress with common formative assessments and then essentially your summative or your final results are going to be
Yeah,
STAR?
this is like our interim assessment, like the STAR is just our dip-ins for 3 times a year. That's what we have, but we've been creating those common formative assessments throughout the year.
But that's more like, for, your results aren't going to be based on those common formatives. It's going to be STAR as your summative. It's okay. And when you're pulling the STAR data, so I mean, these are the state standards, right? So it does put those questions into those subsets. Meaning, okay. And so, I mean, it is,
This
so,
is the STAR data.
And so, and I see what you're saying where it says, interpret the equation y plus mx plus b is defined in a linear function where, so well, okay, maybe my memory is a little foggy on that, but that would come, it's kind of like when,
especially with math.
Well, right, because when I taught algebra, we didn't do statistics until, maybe March or April, right? And so we wouldn't cover it. So, and I think in this case, the y equals mx plus b is a function graphing that does come later. So I see what you're saying, but when, I see like 3% or something like that, I mean, how many questions are there per standard on STAR? Because I was kind of expecting like,
Because it'd be 1 out of 3, which would be 33%, or but this, I mean,
Not
3 out of 10, so.
not a lot.
Okay, so
it's
it is like, it
forward.
is, okay,
It's similar
Right.
to forward, so that's
Yeah.
why creating those common formative
Right.
assessments are gonna really help us.
Okay.
You know, see where students are moving, and we can use kind of in the future, using the common formative assessments would probably be a better gauge for us than using STAR.
okay. No, I was, when I
It
was
was
looking
what
at
we
this,
had to start with,
yeah,
so that's why I think some of the process and all of that will change. We're just learning how to do like the teaching cycles, looking at the data.
Yeah.
So it's gonna take a little bit to really refine it.
yeah, no, I was just curious about some of the percentages, because, but then it's like, well, it's a long test, but okay, no,
And we don't want
Yeah,
to over
yeah,
either, right? So there's a fine line. So some things are gonna need to go.
Yeah.
After having discussion this year and something to say. So we just have to work with our teachers to figure it out.
excellent, thank you.
My only like full question or comment is, when I look at this, I think if you're interested in tracking the like data by grade as they grow, but you're gonna keep changing the information, like at some point, like how are we gonna track linear data of these grades as they move through? Or
Well, the essential standards may change, but we still have proficiency, so we can look at STAR proficiency.
okay,
Which is
proficiency
all
of whatever
just
standard
all
or
those
kind
standards,
of, right, like the, okay.
So this is collecting data just from specific questions within the broader part versus the overall.
Yeah, yeah, because we want to be focused. You know, and be able to shift and change and make those immediate interventions for students on that specific skill.
And I do remember the STAR test being somewhat correlative with the forward, okay, and does the forward break down the scores into these standards?
Yes.
It does, okay.
And we did, when we created those priority standards, we utilized a heat map as to from forward, as to what standards were hit most often on forward, so that helped guide us with those priority standards.
Because what would be interesting is if, you found something where it's like, wow, this standard did really well on STAR, but didn't do well, or vice versa.
Right.
So that, yeah, okay.
And forward just changed to the Wisconsin standards before it was the Common Core standards, so it's still.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's cool, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I would love to keep finding ways to dig into this data, keep us focused on that.
Yeah.
Whether that looks like, workshops or demo or more.
It'd be nice to have even a teacher who can come and talk about their process, and what they're going through, and how they worked through the process.
Yeah, so I appreciate, I know when you sort of asked you to do this. Not last minute, but maybe a couple weeks ago. or something. But yeah, trying to think about this as like a continual conversation. We just want to keep checking in, however it makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
Because you're at.
Absolutely.
Jenna, I just did have a question. So I think, just for my own clarity, when you had worked with the theater districts to create alignment, then how is, if things are changing, where is the alignment?
The essential standards come from the priority standards, so the priority standards are our report card standards. So everyone is reporting out in all the districts, the K-8 districts, on those exact same standards. So every student has that common footing going into Nicolay. But we're intervening and doing additional reteaching and all of that on these essential standards. It's too much for teachers to have 10 ELA, 10 math, social studies, science, all of those standards to go back and reteach on. So being real focused on those essential standards, that's where we feel we can move students, and based on the research, that's how we're going to do that work.
All right, so I wanted to provide an update about actions related to Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, which was the month of March. And especially in response to the board resolution that was passed on March 6th in support of Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. And I just wanted to highlight a few things that were happening across the district. Daily announcements were happening during this week in both buildings with a focus on raising awareness about the inclusion of people with developmental disabilities. That was happening again at both schools. There was a book display at both buildings, and the library staff
selected those books to make available. And some of the feedback I was hearing was when teachers are hearing those announcements, then they go to the library to see if they can connect with that, make sure there's learning happening related to whatever is being announced. So in both buildings, teachers went and looked at those books. They tried to make them highly accessible for students. So they were front and center when students were walking into the library space, which I'm really grateful for. We also pushed out a teacher resource guide that was linked in both school newsletters for teachers to access regarding resources about understanding the historical context of the disability rights movement and understanding disability, ableism, and stories of people with disabilities. We also last night had a community connection fair. And the goal of this event was identified to connect families with various resources within the community. And if you take a look at the resource fair flyer, you'll see that there was great participation by many organizations and great participation in support of individuals or families with students with disabilities. And that felt really good. Taylor is pushing out social media posts this week, highlighting Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. So again, thank you, Taylor, for keeping her very busy. And finally, a parent meet and greet opportunity happened last night. And this was focused in conjunction with our family engagement liaison for families of students with IEPs. His liaison position is a grant-funded role that came with some training. He's here right now. We purposely nestled the family meet and greet to happen, kind of nestled during the community resource fair. Some of the feedback Sam and I were hearing from caregivers of children with disabilities was they're really seeking opportunities to connect with one another. And they're walking through situations and experiences, and sometimes that can feel isolating for families. And we really wanted to craft a space and a place for families to get together and talk about the experiences they're having, celebrate some things together, and maybe even commiserate with one another, because we all know that as parents, sometimes we need to do that with other people. So Sam had a pretty good turnout during that event. And that felt really good. So some of the feedback I heard from parents that came out of that meet and greet was just thank you. And it meant so much to have that opportunity to connect with other caregivers.
Kelly, can I ask, where did the grant come from?
With me?
Oh, okay.
Okay, now you're gonna,
no,
Sam, you might have to help me. Wisconsin?
Oh, I'm sorry, I do not know what WSPE stands for. It's WSPEI.
It's WSPEI.
It's the WISE initiative for it's not the WISE stigma elimination.
No.
Wisconsin statewide parent educator initiative.
Thank you. That is why I couldn't remember it, because it's just one more acronym that my brain is full of them. But Sam has been a tremendous driver, and I appreciate his work because that's a complete parent volunteer task that he's undertaken.
Yeah, I attended the Community Connections Fair, and I had access to some great resources and really enjoyed myself. And I hope that's something we look to continue. I'm also one of those parents who asked for ways to engage with other parents. So I appreciate you responding to that feedback, and Sam for taking on that role. To leave the meet and greet was good. It's nice. It's nice to connect with you.
Can I add to that, please? That I went to, and it's something I and a few other advocates have dreamed about for many years, as you know. So I'm really excited you did that. I got a lot of really positive feedback from parents who came. So hopefully we'll get more caregivers. For me, what was magical was seeing so many mental health and disability advocate organizations there. Because 15 years ago, I don't think that would have been the case. So there's a real sea change, and I love it. So thanks for making that happen.
Thank you. Thank you.
we'll move on to item 5A, board member reports. I just wanted to take this opportunity, so there were 4 board members in attendance at the CAGC symposium. And Carla was understandably not available. So I'll speak for myself. I was, this is the Closing Achievement Gaps Consortium Symposium. We're also looking at closing opportunity gaps, right? And so the speaker was AJ Crabble, who was focusing on board governance and what effective boards do. And he's recently authored a book called Great on Their Behalf. And I'm thinking about adding to our onboarding suggested reading list. And it was just really inspiring. One of the things he said, and I will paraphrase, is that student outcomes improve when adult behavior changes, or the student outcomes will change when adult behavior changes, and was telling us that as board members, and I think that we all agree that what we model here and our behavior here will dictate whether our student outcomes improve or whether they stay stagnant. He implored us to focus on student outcomes and reviewing data. He also talked about creating a psychologically safe environment for our staff, because if we want our staff to engage in continuous improvement, they need to be vulnerable. And to be vulnerable, you need to feel safe, right? Psychologically safe. And that really spoke to me. And he talked about ways we could do that. And it was nice to get some perspective on that. So I don't know. I wasn't the only board member there. If anybody else wants to sort of share out with Carla.
I know.
She asked me to razz her.
I couldn't make it.
Yeah.
If I can just briefly talk about it,
please.
a couple of things. First of all, Glendale-River is one of the founding members of the Closing the Achievement Gap Consortium, and that they, as a district, we have been long involved. I don't know if it goes back as far as some of our other board members might be present here, but it's something that we've had a succession of superintendents very much devoted to. One prior superintendent, one interim superintendent, who's still the executive chairperson of it. So we have a very strong affinity with the group. These are always eye-opening conversations and opportunities to get together with other districts, but frankly, this one resonated with me a lot more, because in addition to what you're saying, Ms. Bailey, the other part of this is just a real pounded in your head reminder. Everything that you do as a school board, it has to be for the children, for the remote outcomes and success. Every decision that you take, every reaction that you have has to be geared towards that. And you have to set smart priorities, and you have to work for that. And I paid attention, in case anyone didn't, but I think I did, but this was really just, it was a wonderful, eye-opening, transformational lecture that really kind of, I think, grounded me and hopefully grounded, brought some board members too. Just a great reminder of what we focus together.
Yeah, I agree. I was a little skeptical going in. Then I watched I watched a video, read an article about it, and like, hey, I agree with this guy. And yeah, I mean, the thing that resonated with me was, the board should have goals that are focused around student achievement. And he says only student achievement. And that's something, outcomes,
right.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, outcomes.
Which is a different.
And I just appreciated him saying that. I think, it all surrounds strategic planning for the district. What is our end goal and how are we going to get there? So I think what was presented to us is a really good starting point.
All right. We can move on to item 6, which is a consent agenda, which contains the approval of minutes for several meetings, which are noted in the public content, a February 7th Cal meeting, a February 9th special meeting, a February 15th equity meeting, committee meeting, February 21st regular board meeting, and a February 29th special meeting. There are also budget guiding principles, a resolution in there containing a draft of guiding principles that the board has offered. So is there,
Can we pull the budget guiding principles? It's the.
sure, we can.
Should I stop there or say what?
No, we can get to it. So let's make it more. Yeah, I can pull it because you just need one person to ask to pull it. So then the consent agenda is just now containing the approval of those minutes I previously mentioned.
You get motion? Well, I'll make that motion. If you didn't, otherwise I'll second it.
I'll second it.
Okay, so Andy made a motion to,
Approve, the consent agenda.
thank you. And Carla seconded, so there's motion and a second. All in favor, voice vote aye. Aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda is approved, and now we can address the budget guided principles.
Yeah, it's just, this is, my ball drop at the last meeting where we discussed these. I made some edits in real time. Do you guys remember?
Yeah.
And I just failed to forward that document. So the wrong document is attached here. So I just need to. I think I sent the edited version to Taylor yesterday, 60 seconds before it was too late for her to attach it to the board agenda. So I would propose we just postpone this until our next meeting so that you have the correct document that's been edited as we discussed.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second to postpone the discussion and any action on the budget guiding board's budget guiding principles to our April 3rd meeting. Yeah. Okay, all in favor, voice vote aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the item is postponed until that date. And now we are going to move on to 7A. This is under discussion, consideration, and possible board action. So we need to improve a printing company for a community survey. We have received 2 quotes. These are brought to us through School Perceptions. These are 2 companies they work with frequently, and they strongly recommend. I tried to get them to make to pick one or tell me which one was better. But no, really, both of these, they've had no issues. They've used them several times. And so there are 2 quotes, but unfortunately, so what you should have a hard copy of the graphic. Yeah, but wait, I don't know. I know. Yeah, Taylor. So it's the lacrosse one that we need. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, shoot. Can we, or I can send it out, but I wonder if we can.
Were either of the totals in the spreadsheets?
Spreadsheets are really hard to read.
They are, but I think at the bottom of one, but I understand.
So. Is it?
Yes.
I believe so.
Okay, let's look up. I will tell you that I have no tool of perception. Which one includes, so the graphic does not include an estimate on postage or mailing, but the lacrosse one does, and it's an estimate. They both include, for lacrosse includes the cost of purchasing a mail list, so all the addresses to the community. And those costs are comparable until, they're actually very much the quotes, so. Not really, not sure how to make this decision. I don't think we can wrong with one, maybe just. Yeah.
And School Perceptions, recommended one.
They recommended both. I tried to get them to recommend one.
There's one thing I did notice in the graphic, composition, vote that their vote is only out through March 16th.
I did, yeah.
Which I assume is a little thing, but I think the bigger question is, if it doesn't include everything, because the postage isn't there. And if we ask for that to be quoted, I mean, and I'm kind of hesitant to either act on it right now or to go pay for them. I'd be inclined to, support the cost.
How about this? How about,
Let's vote on 314.
is it supposed to change it that quickly? I'm not sure.
But
But,
Ross gave a very thorough estimate here.
so you're more, okay.
I'm inclined towards.
Well, I was gonna say we could either like, we could not make the decision now, we could hold a special meeting virtually for a very short amount of time to approve, and I could go back and, you know, talk to school perceptions, but again, I don't think we can go wrong with this, we just sort of move forward, I don't. So you like, look, well,
Yeah, lacrosse is included.
yeah. Again, that mailing is an estimate, but what school perception said is many people choose to respond online, so that estimate may even may end up falling on the lower side, right?
How long is this one valid for?
Well, we can vote on this. We can vote on these.
Oh,
that's-
sure.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to adopt the lacrosse proposal.
I have a question.
Oh, yep, so let's get a motion and then I will come to you.
You need a second.
You do need.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, yes, so yeah, we can.
These companies tend to have a skewed question. In other words, questions that they ask, they're not neutral questions, but yet you're going to spend all this money without actually looking at a questionnaire. How is that fiscal responsibility?
Oh, no, so that's not, we are approving a printing company that we will utilize when a survey is finalized. I'm working with school perceptions right now. To review a survey on April 3rd, they will be in attendance to present their draft survey to the community, and the board for discussion. So we'll be doing that in an open meeting.
I've done many graduate school and I will be here.
Okay, great. Appreciate that. I would definitely love to get community feedback on survey that will go to the community. So there, any other? Okay, there is a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board?
I would just say that I'm a little uncomfortable because I feel like we have an incomplete picture, so
What's incomplete?
we don't have a full quote from. I'm not sure that we have comparables, and I also am unsure how to understand SHHB, which are the codes, so so everything would be
okay.
included, is that what we're saying, like, we would go with the full total? That's listed, it's not that there's.
So the
pieces of this.
lacrosse includes a mailing estimate, but they say it is an estimate, right? Because they won't know how many people involved that they know, so. I think if we want to ask some more questions, that's fine. School perceptions will be here on the 3rd, but I will talk with them before that. So we have, we just have this document issue, which is,
So we're not on like a timeline here because we still.
there is a timeline, but it is,
April 3rd, we'd still be fine.
There's nothing to print.
Yeah.
yeah, you just want to secure them. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, right? We have time to ask some further questions. And I'm fine with that.
Okay.
So why don't we there's a motion in a second, why don't we just have a vote? Yeah. All in favor, voice vote aye.
Or to hire lacrosse. Sure. Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No, say no, sorry, thank you. Okay, so we will come back to that. I'm sorry with this document issue with. And if you have specific questions, yep, once I'll share that document out. The right document, okay. Send that to me, that was my unfinished note. Okay. We are going to move on to item 7B, and this item is for Gus, is Gus on?
He is on,
Okay.
let me, and Todd Gray is also here. I can actually, I'm just trying to make it so you can see them as well. So, Gus and Todd, can you just test your sound to make sure that it's working okay?
This is Gus Knit.
All right, wonderful. Let me pull them up here. Sorry, everybody. Let me go like this, and then that might help. All right, one moment. All right, now we can see you up on the board. Okay, awesome.
Okay, are you ready for me to begin? On the
Yes,
monthly
please.
financials?
Yes, please.
Okay. You have some documents that were attached, that are attached to the agenda. The first one that I wish to talk about is labeled General Checking AP Detail Check Register dates 2/1/24 to 2/29/24.
Gus?
It is,
Wait, Gus, sorry.
It's
I have a general question about the documents because they were uploaded into administrative content and I was trying to understand if that's if that's normal practice or why they weren't uploaded, why they weren't made public.
okay, okay, explain. What I did is what I've done in other districts now as a business manager is download these, pass them on to the district administrator to attach them to the agenda. That was
So is there an issue with them being in the public content?
Pardon me?
So I mean, that's what I'm trying to understand. Should it have been lists that are published under public content, or is it supposed to be under administrative content?
No, it could be under public content.
Okay, that's what, okay. Can we change that? How and when can we?
I mean,
change that?
I can try to work on it right now immediately if you want to just give me 1 minute.
I don't know. If I'm allowed in terms of posting and then. I think that we can, what?
It's a document, the agenda item's already out there for discussion, already providing information.
Yeah, I just want.
Under circumstances.
Okay.
Yeah, we should make it.
Well, what about this? Could you pull up the document so that when Gus is talking about it?
Sure, I think
so we can.
yeah, I think I can do that. Should I, all right, let's see here. Just give me 1 moment to just get into our agenda.
Should understand what I'm doing.
All right, thanks, everybody. I'll bring it up right now. So Gus, did you say we're starting with the, was it the check
register.
spreadsheet?
Yes.
Okay, 1 moment, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Taylor.
And I apologize. We'll get this squared away in future meetings. I just wanted to start getting this information out at board meetings.
We appreciate
Okay, so we are. So we're starting with our February checks. I'm gonna see if I can pull, is this visible to you now, Gus?
I can see that, yes.
Okay, just, I apologize. I'm, not mirroring my screen, so I'm just kind of looking across the room at my cursor. So if you need me to move any certain way, you just let me know.
Okay. And again, I don't know exactly what has transpired in the past. What I am doing tonight with these is starting to begin how I will operate during my tenure here, sharing information with the board. At least this is some of the information. There's more that needs to be shared, but we're working on that. I'm working on that. The check register each month would be presented to you as to the board. In other districts that I have been in, the board has approved, made a motion to check register on a monthly basis. This gives you an opportunity to take a look at accounts payable checks that have been cut during the month. The one thing, and if you can go to the last, if you can flip to the last page, page 8.
Am I there? Not yet.
There you are, page 8.
Thank you.
So that you are aware, the summary then of what funds are being, where these checks came from, what funds are there. Some of them, if it says balance sheet, some of those were either were probably payables that were recorded on the balance sheet that have been paid. If there was any revenue there, and expenses and your grand total. So it's broken down by general fund, special education, food service, community service fund, and then the grand total. And the grand total for the month of February was $688,289.87. I have to apologize at this point because I'm trying to work on other things. I have not gone through the checks in great detail, so I would struggle somewhat conceivably to answer some questions, but the normal thing would be, as we go through this each month, is that if board members had questions about checks or about vendors or where some of this stuff was going, it would be appropriate to ask. If you have questions on this February one, I will make a note and take them down. I will need to probably I will have to get back to you probably as to what some of that may be about. Don't believe I'm totally familiar to be able to answer all the questions tonight. But that would be that's the process that I would like to move forward with. That way then you as a board have the ability to see what monthly payments are, and if you have questions or concerns about them, you obviously can certainly raise it, but it gives you an ability to check. Now, I need to let you know that this is just accounts payable. This check register does not include payroll. Payroll is its own separate entity. So this would just be, it'd be like supplies, it would be utilities. You'll see transportation in there. There's payments for insurance, for employee insurance. There's payments of tax shelter annuities that employees are having deductions taken out of paychecks for, and we are making the payment on their behalf. So there's a, I know in here that there's officials for different sporting events that are on here. There's some reimbursement, some tuition to like Richardson School for, certain students. Those types of things are all listed there. And so I would open it up for in case anyone has any questions that I can certainly research for you.
Yes, this is Carla. I have a general question. Can you explain to me what is in the column balance sheet? What
Yeah,
those numbers are?
Those would be amounts that have been booked as payables. Lots of times it may be depending upon, usually it would be fringe benefits depending upon when the payments are made. It would show up as a payable when the payroll is run, because some of those fringe benefits are paid at certain points in the month, not necessarily after each payroll. And so they would be liabilities that the district owes. And then when we pay those bills, that's why it's showing that's coming off the balance sheet. The expenses have already been, the process would be in payroll that there's payroll expense. Those expenses would show up when the payroll occurred. On the expense side, they would be, okay, let me backtrack. All expenses are going to involve cash. Some expenses, though, like fringe benefits, at the time of the payroll, we would have expense, but we would credit a liability account because we are not paying for them right away. When they show up on this report as balance sheet, what has happened is we have debited the liability, we have erased the liability, and we are crediting cash, we're making an actual cash payment. And so I'm trying to simplify accounting as best I can. It may still be confusing, but it's a matter of when the actual cash payment is made and where it is coming from. I don't know if that confused you more or answered your question.
I think it confused me more.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not sure though, but I think I'm still.
Yeah, let me backtrack. Sometimes, let me see if I can explain it this way. Let's talk. Okay. At home, sometimes we get bills that we do not pay right away. We know we have the bill. We know we owe the money, but we may pay it a week or so later once we, when we actually pay the bill. When we get the bill, we know that we owe for it. When we pay for it, when we actually pay for it, that's when we write, well, I'm old fashioned. When I write a check and send a check or however I make a payment, and when I make a payment, my bank account is getting reduced at the time I'm making the payment. Do you follow that part so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so in a school district, same situation occurs. We get a bill, we know that we owe something, but we aren't paying it right away. In that case, what we are doing is we are recording it under accounting rules. We are recording it on the balance sheet.
Got it.
And then when we pay it, we take it off the balance sheet and pay cash. So it's very similar to if you think about it in your own home, in your own financial doings, that when you hold the bill, you hold it. And when you pay it, that's when the money comes out of the bank. That's what's happening here. Under expense, the money's coming out of the bank right away. We aren't holding the bill. As soon as we get the bill, we're paying it. When it comes off the balance sheet, we've been holding the bill for a while before we pay it. And that's normal. It's not that we're doing anything. It's not that we're being delinquent. It's not anything that we're doing wrong. It's just a matter that we're holding it for a little bit before we pay it.
Okay, that really helps. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Gus on the check register?
This is Karen, Gus. Hi, I'm not sure if this is for you, but I think there may be staff present. I just noticed that we have repeat billing for Maxim Healthcare, and I just wanted to clarify that's not our school district nurse. That is nursing particular to students who require nursing services, or what?
I can speak to Maxim. Do you need me to have a microphone to do that?
Probably for the webinar.
So the school district utilizes an agency, and that agency is Maxim at times to fill positions. And we have chatted with Gus about this, and this was obviously a decision we made in conjunction with our former business manager about the pros and cons of using such agencies. So Maxim provides us with some staff that vary in position type, but many paraprofessionals, or many of the Maxim staff are paraprofessionals.
And what happens sometimes is we struggle to fill those positions. And we might lean on Maxim to help us fill those positions to the student need. And then we also have had some substitute teachers also with us through Maxim as well. That is something on the table right now, that we've been discussing, the pros and cons of that. But that is what that cost is.
Thank you so much. Andy?
I just want to ask a couple of very quick follow-ups, Gus. Thanks for the work that you're doing on this. And I want to ask the first question, which is based on what we're seeing here, obviously there's some individual expenditures that have popped up. And you're not quite through all the work that you've been sifting through, but based on what you've seen so far, is this check register in line with where prior monthly amounts have been? Is it more, is it less, or is it just, are you just not able to comment toward the budget irrelevant? That's my first question. I mean, how does this stack up against prior months or prior years?
Yeah, no, I have not, and I apologize with everything else. I mean, I don't mean to make excuses, but I have not had an opportunity to compare this to previous years. I will make a note in future months that I will compare the check register to previous years' check registers, just to give you an idea of how this compares, and are there any irregularities? You know, are there any major differences that are cropping up, and if there are, I have an explanation as to what's causing those variances. What I can tell you is that as I've paged through this, I'm not surprised by expenses that I see, and by checks that we've written for expenses that I saw in here. I saw transportation, I saw.
That's not great. Hold on.
Gus,
All right, one moment, Gus. I think we lost you, but we're gonna try to get you back here. 1 second.
Okay.
Oh.
It's just the new line board. Oh, thank you, Miss Young. Sorry, Gus, just 1 second. Our display board just stopped working, so we're gonna get that back going here. All right, so now. Sorry about that. I think it might have just timed out. So let me try going like this. Let me try. All right, just want to make sure I can pull up that same spreadsheet like I had for everybody. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, Gus, can you at least still hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, all right. I will, while you keep talking, I'm gonna work on pulling up that same spreadsheet.
Yep. Yeah, as a TV commercial once said, yeah, do you hear me now? So that is basically, I'm basically done with, talking about the check register, but my expectation would be, whether you do it tonight or not, I'm not worried about it, but in future months, I would like the board to approve that on a monthly basis.
And thanks. And then my other question was more of a general accounting question, which is, and it kind of goes back to something we've reiterated, which is we're paying our bills, we're paying them on time. You just said that, we had good cash flow, up to this point. My question is, when we have all these different things that come due that require cash payments, that have different payment deadlines, just as a matter of accounting, where do we keep the list of, how do we keep track of what the payment deadlines are in the, be it in the balance sheet or in another document? Just wondering what the tool is for that. And
Nope.
No, you're not.
Again, we are at this point in time, there is nothing that's causing us to delay any payments or do that. We have, adequate cash flow, and I know that Dr. Gray is working on coming up with numbers to make sure that we have cash flow to meet all our obligations in the 23-24 school year there. So right now we're on a pay as we go basis right now. And we can continue to do that for the foreseeable future.
So we're not holding something for net 60 or net 90, when the bill comes in, we're still able to pay it off as it comes in.
Yes, we are paying that as we do that. We are also meeting our payroll on the 15th and the last day of the month. We're meeting all of that. No one is being affected that way either.
Thank you.
Okay, the second thing is there are two printouts. One is labeled Board Report Monthly Expenses 2/24. The other one is labeled Board Report Monthly Revenue 2/24. I found these reports in Skyward. What I looked at there was the budget amounts that were listed. You have the revenue one in front of you, I can see it on my screen now. And I'm looking at it, and it says 10, and then there's an R after it. Then there's some dashes, and then there's an object 1, 2, 3, 5, and so on. As we go forward in this whole budgeting process, I'll explain more about 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm not going to take time tonight to do that. My concern right now is Fund 10. I'm looking at the line right after 10R9. It's just got 10 and a whole bunch of dashes. And it says that the original budget there is 16,444,303.87. I have to believe, based on what is entered into Skyward, that is the revenue that, right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm not making a judgment about it, but that is the revenue that I'm right now basing decisions, and as I move forward, that is the revenue that I'm going to be using as a basis in preparation for 24-25. On the other side, on the expense side, there is the same type of thing.
Here, let me pull up that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
One moment.
So Gus, these are pre-existing reports that you found on our accounting systems, right?
Yes. I have not done anything with these reports. These are reports that I found as I was trying to investigate and figure out if there was anything in the system, in the computer system, that would give me a basis to start building a 24-25 budget. And I found these documents there, and right now, until I find something that contradicts that, this is what I'm using as I go with 24-25. Same type of thing. You can see that, except now it's 10E and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll go through all of those later on as we go through the budget. The bottom line is 10, and there's a bunch of dashes. It says general fund, and it's got the number 20,109,879.79 as the total expenses in 23-24. So I have revenue of 16,444,303.87, which we saw just briefly a minute ago. And I got expenses of 20,109,879.79. When I do the math, that comes up to a deficit of 3,665,575. So the 23-24 budget that's in the Skyward system right now is showing a deficit of a little over $3.6 million. So as I'm moving forward in looking at 24-25, my goal and objective is, how do we eliminate that deficit? How does that deficit disappear? So that's one issue to deal with. Now, that's on the budget standpoint. Let me talk to you about, there are some things that I believe we still need to double check some entries that should have been made by journal entry that did not automatically go in as expenses. We got to check some of those and where we are with totals on that. I would tell you right now, though, salaries and employee benefits, number 1 and number 2, at the very top on the expense page. As I look at activity, I look at February monthly activity.
I'm sorry.
Oh, we gotta go
Which-
up. Go the other
Okay.
direction.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, there we go. I'm looking at February monthly activity, 710,274.39. And again, I have not compared to other months yet. I have to do that. But if I look at that and say, okay, assuming that payroll is fairly consistent, I'm looking and saying that based on that number, I'm now looking at the unexpended balance and saying, okay, that's how much we have left to hit on payroll. If I run this 710,000 out 6 months, I come up with about having to add another $4.2 million, which would mean that on salaries, we are going to be over budget. That's the bad news. The good news is, and I can't explain it, but I'll just tell you the good news. Under employee benefits, we had the monthly activity at 262,080.32. Again, that should be fairly consistent. If I run that through the end of the year, I come up with about 1.5, 1.6 million. Bottom line is, while salaries will be over budget, employee benefits will be under budget from what we can see right now. My hope and goal is, as we get everything put together, and I'm sorry to make you jump around, but now I'm going back down to 10, where it says general fund, the very bottom. I got to need to select right. Yep, right there. And if you look, it says that at this point in time, I'm looking now in the total year-to-date activity. It says at this point in time, we have spent $8,367,843.99. What I'm hoping is that we are under, when June 30th comes around, we are under the 20,109,000 over in that first column. If we are under, and assuming that our revenue is correct, if we are under, that would reduce the amount of the deficit. If our expenses come in less than 20,109,000, our deficit will become lower. And that's what we're hoping for. That's what we're striving for right now. Not only does it help cash flow, but it also means that there is less of a gap that we have to close in 24, 25.
This is Karen. I just have a question. So are you saying that's your projection based on current existing data?
I'm not quite comfortable because I need to get a better handle on I'm very concerned as to non-capital objects, number 4. We have such a high unexpended balance. I mean, that would be tremendous if that's the case. We have a high unexpended balance. I need to make sure that the 301 includes that we've actually spent this year, the 301,569.76 that we've actually, that everything is that we have spent is included in that 301. And the same with the purchase services, the line above. We are well below where I would anticipate we would be based if that budget amount is correct. And I'm hoping that those two numbers are fairly accurate and that we would be well underneath those budget numbers, which would cause our overall budget to be under budget. And I apologize, I may be confusing everyone.
No, Gus, this is Carla. This is helping me a lot. The question that's rattling around in my head is with the third column, when I look at fiscal year to date totals.
Yep.
I'm wondering about the fidelity of those totals, because I know you all have been doing a lot of backward-looking bookkeeping. And so I don't even know quite how to ask the question, but how confident are you at this point that those year-to-date numbers, as opposed to, you know, the February numbers that you're booking, how confident are you that those numbers are accurate or close to accurate?
Okay, there are two things that are going to impact that will not show up until June. There are two numbers, and they are significant, that will impact 23-24. One will be open enrollment out. DPI will assign us the number that we have to expend or put in our expenditure for open enrollment out. I haven't looked at that. In my experience in districts, you know, it's all I can say right now. It's about $9,000 per student. I don't know how much, and I haven't looked to see how many open enrollment out students you have. But that's a number that will not show up till June. The other number that will not show up till June is we will have to make a transfer from Fund 10 to Fund 27. Taxpayers have to subsidize part of special education. We do not get enough funding from the state or the federal government to entirely cover our special education funding. So taxpayers have to subsidize that. That, you know, we have to take a look at that, and you know, based on that, I have some you know, I have some concern there as to how much that could actually be. So but those two numbers, I mean, you can easily figure, I would think 2.5 million are going to get added onto that 8.3, but that will not occur till June.
But then if you look at like 10E4 non-capital objects.
Yes.
And we see fiscal year to date activity 301,569.
Yes.
What I heard you saying, but I'm not sure I have that right, is that there's still a question mark over that number while you continue to pour through the bookkeeping for the year.
Guster, I do know that there were purchases from credit card, Amazon card, that I don't believe have been entered into Skyward, and how much those are, I don't know, but it could be significant, or it might be not that significant. That's one of the things that, you know, it's just going to take a while to dig through, because there's so many transactions.
And that's why I was somewhat hesitant about that, because from my experience, only at this point in the school year, only spending 33% of your budget. Again, we don't know how accurate it is, but I'm using the numbers that are there. That's what I'm basing everything on. But only spending a third of that looks out of line to me. That's not been my experience that we're in that sort of thing. The other thing that it gives me some concern is the fact that we're only a third, again, 33% on the purchase services, the line above. I'm concerned, you know, do we have everything in there? Are there things there that have not been recorded yet? And at this point, I'm not confident to say that those year-to-date numbers for 3 and 4 for purchase services and non-capital objects, I'm not confident to say that those are entirely accurate. That's part of the delving into I have to do, but what it does, it gives a starting point, at least as we take a look at things. My thing here is that you will get this report every month, and you will get the same observations that I've given you tonight in regards to salaries and benefits and where it starts to project out at the end of the year. And in future years, who's ever sitting in my seat should be able, in each month, starting in February, should be able to start making a projection as to where you will be at year end. That should be the expectation. A business manager can do that. That's not unrealistic. And I only can say that because I've been doing that for 36 years.
So, so I might be going on a tangent here, but, it looks to me, and maybe I'm reading it wrong, that the total revenue for Fund 10 is under what we approved. Before I ask you, is that correct?
I have not looked at the document that you approved in October as of this point. My thing was trying to find this, and then I've been now trying to look and see, can I find detail that tries to justify these numbers and where some of these expenses are going to. So I have not compared to that. I only have, this is what I have, and you know, again, this is the best information I have to start billing 24-25 at this moment in time. Now, I understand I could be making an adjustment depending upon what other information we find, but this is where I needed a starting point, and this is where I'm starting from.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I guess my question from that would be, and again, not expecting you to answer it now, and someone can answer, not just you, but I mean, if what I'm saying is true, it looks to be about like 600,000 if I'm reading that right. You know, is it hot? You know, the revenue spreadsheet that every district gets that they fill out. Is it possible that ours was filled out inaccurately? And again, you don't, but that would be something that I would be wondering.
What I will do by the April meeting when I report, bring this report back, is I will take a look at what the board approved in October and take a look at this. And on the revenue part, it'll be easy to see where the differences occur as to, you know, the 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, see where those differences are. And depending upon where those differences are, it may be easy for me to be able to say, okay, here's where the difference is. And hopefully there may be an ability on my part to explain the difference. I can't, you know, we'll see what transpires, but I will take a look at that and at least let everyone know where the differences are.
Awesome, I appreciate it.
Gus, I wanted to ask another question if I can, about credit card usage. And we talk a lot about putting controls into place, understanding, you know, where we can tighten up procedures. Let me preface this by saying I have a corporate credit card to my regular source of employment. I have to pre-approve all of my expenses, and there's a process of approval that goes on not just before, but also after. So my question for you, and you may not know the answer to this, so I appreciate that. And two parts, right? One is, do we know who has district credit cards and if they are appropriate or not? And two is, do you know offhand, and you may not, what the practice or policy is on you know, approval of expenses right now? Because, you know, I haven't heard anything to suggest that people are, you know, going out and charging, you know, personal expenses. And I would assume that you would have said that, you know, if it was, you know, something carrying that, obviously it's going through. But credit cards are one of those things where, you know, people are charging a lot. It is hard to track. And I know that's, you know, some work you guys are doing. So I guess I'm curious what kind of controls we have in place and what you might recommend going forward.
And can I just, we also recently approved a financial policy around purchase card reports. It was the one that we brought back to a meeting to add in language around purchase cards specifically, actually defending what we saw at in Nicole's policy was what I noted. And so that was a follow-up question to your question around that language was to present a monthly report on purchase cards to the treasurer. And so You probably don't know this answer, I guess, either, but I'm wondering how soon you might anticipate that being part of these monthly financial reports too.
Well, right now I gotta get my hands on the whole credit card situation. And I will tell you that, that's a learning curve for me because in districts I was in, we didn't have credit cards. We did purchasing differently. I got to get a handle on here. I will also tell you though, that bottom line, I've already started to warn principals and things that my budgetary experience was that there's a budget set for each building and each, administrator, and they are responsible for, and part of my job before I leave will be to train them how to read budget reports. And it's going to be in my recommendations to the board when I leave that principals will be held accountable, that they need to stay within the parameters of their budget. And unless, there'll be a process if they can't, obviously sometimes an emergency comes up or something like that, but there will be a process to deal with that. But that, and my understanding was that wasn't the situation prior to my arrival, is that they weren't heavily involved in the budget process. They were more given things and told things and not held overly accountable, I guess. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but those are changes in the process and procedure that have to occur as we move forward. That would just be, in my experience, at least normal standard practice. So there's some procedures we need to do. The credit card thing, I got to get a better understanding on that, on how it's working, get more information in regards to it. Administrators have been willing to share information that they have with me. In fact, I think I've gotten at least one report about that. I just need to, work through that and go through that. And now as this month ends and I'm in the district much more than I have been, I'll be able to delve into that stuff. And again, my goal would be to start providing more information to you in April. What I wanted to do tonight was at least scratch the surface and get some things in place, and give you an idea of some things that you could expect. And yes, this will expand as we move forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say on the credit card thing, I didn't see anything unusual. Now, I didn't go through line by line, but I think this has been the practice. And then as of sometime in February, we said no more. We cut it off. So technically, those have been cut off over the last probably 6 weeks or more. But it's just a matter of that. And some districts do it that way. They have purchasing cards, or they might purchase through Amazon because of the free shipping and so on. And at that point, and Amazon also recognizes tax exempt sales as well. So it is very handy. But they make the charge and it doesn't come out of each charge doesn't come out of the checking account, which then hits Skyward. It comes as a monthly bill, which is paid by check. And if those amounts aren't entered into, I'm sorry, it might be paid by ACH. And if those amounts aren't entered into Skyward, you have an issue there. And that's one of the things on the audit. I did send an audit update, and that is one of the things that we're really going to have to spend a tremendous amount of time on, is because they want us to classify all the expenditures from the credit card sales. So at this point, it's just going to be a matter of going line by line and figuring out where each of those items belong. So that and bank recs, I got 15 open items, but most of those can be taken care of relatively quickly. It's just the bank recs and the classifying the expenditures from the credit card purchases, which is just going to take a tremendous amount of time.
Todd, how many transactions are you talking about with the purchase card?
I don't know, but
thousands and thousands.
I heard, one point that the 1 month, and this is probably when you're beginning of the year, when you're ordering a lot of the supplies, and so on for the district, it might be as high as 75,000. And so you're talking a lot of small transactions.
So that has me thinking about how can we support the two of you to sort of move the investigation, the backwards accounting forward. Like, do we need additional support? I know we've talked about forensic audits before, which is essentially what you're doing, but you're a two-person team and you're part-time. And so I'm wondering if getting additional support in this area would be helpful.
It might be. Now, again, I did set up Teresa in the accounting department with training for Skyward, and that's been helpful. She's already been able to create some reports for me. She has some more, and there's more training coming, and that's occurring next week, or later this week, and that will be a big help. As far as the one area that I think is the big unknown is, if the auditors will just say, okay, you just need to get the June 30th bank rec done. That makes life very easy. It's just, I mean, it's gonna take some time. It's gonna take someone like either Gus or myself or someone to go through all the items in that reconciliation and make sure they're accurate. If that's acceptable to the audit firm, because technically all the other months have been closed, then obviously that's going to speed things up. And that's my calls tomorrow to determine what we can do and which of these can we call not material. There are a few things on here that they have, and they've even noted too, they may not be material. If that's the case, let's not spend any time on it.
So just to be clear, so it sounds like in the next day or two, you'll know if like somehow there may be additional support we could.
I'm thinking by tomorrow or Friday. And then next week, I'd really like to get everything wrapped up, except I just don't know how long it's gonna take to classify all those expenses. That might take a little bit longer, but if we can get I call it a final draft, or maybe a red herring financial statement that'll temporarily satisfy the bond disclosure that we need, and then we can move forward. So, and I do have all the information to Baird for cash flow purposes. The only thing they're looking for is what kind of potential budget reductions might be coming from July for the 24-25 fiscal year, so they can build that in. And my recommendation is, if it's primarily salary, there won't be a lot of cash flow benefit those first 3 months. But in any event, I think that should be just about done. They should be able to give you some pretty good information or recommendation coming from that cash flow. And then it's a matter of taking those numbers and working backwards into a budget. You will have to reapprove the 23-24 budget, of course, but that again, we're looking sometime, I believe, in April for that to happen.
So would that be like amending the budget, or would we need to go through a formal budget hearing process?
No, it would be a budget amendments.
Okay.
You already did the budget hearing, and now you'd have to amend it to the correct amounts.
And I had discussion with Baird today, talked to him, and in my understanding, they're planning to come on the 17th with their recommendation.
Okay. We are still talking about the monthly financial report. I'm I
Yes.
could get a little bit into the budget update, but I
Yep,
want
sorry.
to keep us, no, it's all linked, right? It's all, so, is there anything more around the monthly financial report? That you, either of you would like to share or does the board have any questions? And I did see that there was at least one public comment online, is that right?
Yep, and there actually, I think it might be an additional one to that, so let me pull that up real quick. Thanks for being patient. It's just hard to read it from across the screen, so I'm gonna
Okay, so
pull.
what it was about, can we share out district financials?
Yes, sorry.
publicly, Right?
Yep, let me pull that up in just one moment. Just have to bring it back into view here. Sorry. Okay, got it on my screen. Let me pull this up. All right, so you're okay if I read them now?
Yeah.
Okay, so first one is from John Marshall, 2510 West Brantwood Avenue, parent. It says, can we get monthly or quarterly financial statements published showing summary info on revenue, expenses, balance sheet positions, and cash flow versus the budget trend and prior year? This would greatly improve financial transparency for the district. What are we doing to improve financial statement literacy in the district with administration team and board members? It's very critical, in my opinion, that everyone has an understanding of how to read and interpret the district's financial statements and understand the financial position of the district.
So I'm going to respond to this because those are all great questions and great ideas. And I certainly agree with the need for all that information. When we go to WASB training, which is the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, when we go to WASB training, we're told that we develop financial literacy by relying on our business managers to teach us. So that's part of what we're observing happening with Gus and part of what we've been asking for a long time. And we all want more literacy. So what we're told when we join school boards is that the business manager is our go-to and the superintendent. So we will continue to look to that and to look for competency on that front. And we're starting to see that with Gus, bringing us the information we need to educate us. So I want to thank you, Gus and Todd, for helping us get up that learning curve.
And all I would say to that resident is keep keep watching in the future when we get to, and that'll come up in just a minute in budget work update, but when I present the budget to you this year, I will go into a lot greater detail than you may need in the future or anything like that, because part of my job is to educate you. And there are certain things, again, as we look forward and move forward, there are certain things that you as board members, there are little tips, little clues, little things like that you can be monitoring in future years that would tip you off a lot earlier if there were some issues, if the business manager wasn't being as forward as possible. But there are things that will occur, and I will be giving a lot more information as we go through this budget. You may be moaning and groaning by the time I get done, but we're going to go through this just so I want to make sure that you have an understanding of key principles and key things there, and that the public does. And certainly, I understand, and we can start working. I can't guarantee when that will occur. It might not be ready to occur till 24, 25 at his request of getting some type of reports out that for everyone, community and everyone to see. I understand that, and I will put that down as something that can be worked on as we move forward.
And Gus,
I understand why he's asking the question.
Yeah, Gus, if it's like you did or we did, you have a pretty substantial budget booklet that gets published on the website, and usually that gives a fair amount of information. And then monthly, quarterly, you might then post your financials, and then that's typically the way it's done in a lot of districts.
Yeah.
Oh, on the, right, that's okay. I I just would add that, the past practice has been to share those documents out at least under former business managers prior to Lindsey Johnson. And now, as we saw information change that we were receiving, I will say, those were clues to us as we were getting less information and feeling like it was hard to understand the information, and pushing back to be like, we should be able to communicate this out to our community, what's being brought to us. And so to double down on Carla's learning, like that is the role of a business manager, to be able to teach and to translate so that we can do that for our community. And you obviously don't get to see everything we are doing and asking for and pushing for outside of these board meetings, but it's also part of the public record there too. You can see that it's something we've been. I'm grateful to Gus that he's gonna give us the tools, the questions to ask when we start to have those. Well, actually, I don't believe that we'll be in that situation again. So, anyway, okay.
There are additional comments, unless we're still speaking on this initial one.
Yeah, on the month, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
There's two more that I'm seeing. So the next one is from Sal Balistreri, 2511 West Rochelle. I've been a hospital administrator for several years, managing multi-million-dollar budgets that I am accountable for. And it's extremely alarming that we haven't been able to track line for line what our expenditures have been under each subcategory, let alone are we just now realizing that the school board superintendent and principals need to be trained on these things and on the fly. It's absolutely unacceptable, and how there was no oversight to catch this after just a few months of inconsistencies is beyond comprehension. Moving forward as a parent and taxpayer, I would expect each expense to be accounted for and scrutinized. And in the end, I'm grateful for the two gentlemen presenting now.
Thank you. I want to, I think we were responding to a question around asking about training, not saying that our administrators were in need of that training or don't have it. So I just want to clarify that. That was responding to an earlier point. And that was a lot.
I know, I'm sorry.
I'm not an audit, so that's hard to process. I'll say thank you for your for that comment. And I don't know if anybody caught. If I can see it written down, I have to process that and get it back to you. Yeah. I mean, I just. Okay. Or Taylor can put it up.
Yeah, whatever works.
Yeah. Haven't been able to track. Like I responded to that and not saying it's on the slide. There was no oversight to catch this. Okay. So I don't know, I mean, I guess Gus or Todd would be the people to speak to why we can't track line for line what our expenditures are possibly. And, I sort of have a follow-up question to that for them too, which is around, are we still maintaining that there is no they're seeing no evidence of like fraudulent intent or any other, we keep hearing this is just like so strange what they're trying to get through and so murky, and it's just very difficult for them to understand what has happened. So that's a follow-up. And yeah, I think this may be a conversation I could have with you outside of here too, because it's a complex system and it's a complex thing to speak. Sorry, that was not.
And
Okay,
I would.
and you're online.
Todd.
Oh, yeah, Todd, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, I would just explain to the public, I mean, Todd and I just have walked into the district. And part of this, at least I'll speak on my behalf, part of this is there's a lot of things that have been done that are not the way that I had done things throughout when I was actively working. And so I need to get myself get up to speed on what transpired how things were done, things like that. And once I get a better understanding of how things were done, obviously I'll have much better idea about numbers and where we need to go and how we need to make what adjustments we need to make and so on and so forth for that. I mean, I'm not trying to apologize. I'm just stating the fact of, you know, this has been, you know, this has been complex coming in and trying to dig everything out that someone else had done.
And there's not a lot of supporting data out there to, we're having to determine what's done basically by backing into numbers and so on and backing into what some of the transactions were be. There's just not that level of support for determining how some of the decisions were made.
There's just one more.
Okay.
Okay, let me just triple check. Okay, and the next one's actually for me. Hi, guys.
Oh, it's just about.
It is me, Taylor Dasso, Glendale-River Hills District Office. I do believe there are some sources of revenue that I have a strong inkling are not yet appearing on the February Skyward reports. And some of those that come to mind include student fees that are collected via Infinite Campus. I'm not entirely sure of the process that our Infinite Campus student information system has with our actual Skyward bank accounts. There are multiple fees that we collect from families, including academic fees, instructional fees, fees related to athletics and technology fines. And I know firsthand that we've been collecting them a lot very recently in February and March. That's one source of revenue that I'm thinking probably exists, but does not yet exist on that Skyward report. Another source of revenue that I think might exist is foundational grants that have been brought from the foundation to our teaching staff that we are still in the process of working with the foundation to get those accounted for, but I just don't yet think are entered into Skyward. And then the last piece is just, I know there's been a lot of applications for grants related to DPI, and I just want, I guess, the public and our staff to know that I do believe that there is a lot of work being done to collect revenue in a variety of different ways that we've been doing throughout the school year. And just that process and that piece of actually appearing on Skyward, I don't know I can't say for sure that has yet occurred. And then in addition, that all expenses that have been made on behalf of the teaching and learning department, all items are itemized. All accounts are listed for the purpose of spending as well as the department, and we have all of them. And I just don't think yet that those have been entered into Skyward. But that's something that we can work on as a team to make sure that happens.
Is that it? Okay, is that it for online?
Oh, yes.
Okay, I saw you and then Mr. Norris, and then there might have been a third. Okay.
Bruce Broker, 2151 West Bernardsville, real quick. Clearly, we are in crisis mode. In order for you to make a good decision, and we all want you to make a good decision, you need good information. And you don't have that right now. And the only way you're going to get that is if you get some accountants in to really look at the books and go through them and find out where we really are. And the sooner you do that, the sooner we will have the information where good decisions can be made. And the longer you wait, the longer it'll be before you have that decision. And decisions need to be made pretty darn quick. So I urge you to please get some accountants in here and look at those books so you can make a good decision. Thank you.
So just to clarify, the two individuals that are currently addressing us are experts that we were able to recruit in January who are doing that work, and we have been consistently asking if they need additional assistance. They have been training the existing staff who are very talented people who have skill sets that had not been maximized through previous business management leadership. And so we've been able to really ramp up our business administration office and its skill sets through these, I believe, 4 people. So the 2 gentlemen on the screen and the other 2 people who are district employees.
So,
But you guys still can't read a balance sheet. So,
okay, thank you. Oh, there's one, yeah, Mr. Norris.
I just stand up. Is that okay? Stand here.
Sure, please.
Yeah, I just gotta speak on behalf of the gentleman on the screen. I can tell you, like, for the public, people in the room, when this happened in the district I was in, it took 3 years to do the work they're doing. Like, when stuff's coded incorrectly, you don't know where things are going. It is a mess, and I'm not suggesting this is a mess. I'm coming into this for 15 minutes. Like, that's what I'm hearing. So, like, kudos to them and you guys for getting people in here immediately. A couple things to speak on behalf. Mr. When you mentioned the revenue limit, what you guys certify in terms of revenue isn't like a question. It's on DPI's website. You can get it in 10 seconds. So like when, for example, when we certify a levy, I book our revenue to the balance sheet like the next day. It's guaranteed. So like you guys should know right now, Mr. Gray could go to the website and find out exactly what you're gonna get. It shouldn't be a question. Now, there are other revenues, as I think Taylor suggested. Fund 21 revenues, those are all questions. Leases, things like that. Most revenue should be guaranteed. You should know what's coming in. So that should be good to know. In terms of open enrollment expenses, that's a simple login someone should have from the district somewhere for called Opal. You guys can track that. Historically, you can look back at past years to get a projection of what that is. Should be reasonable for them to be able to project that out. Fund 10 to 27 transfer, that's a huge expense. He's exactly right. That happens in June. Typically, what most districts do, they look at last year's audit for Fund 27 expenses. You're gonna get 33% of the expenses and revenue. And then you project out just like he's doing. So those things, I reasonably believe they should be able to have for you guys in the next few weeks. That's good. One recommendation I might make, if like P cards are a question, is I'd shut them down and have one central P card. All requests for P card usage goes through one person. Maybe there's a list of approvals. If it's a real problem, that's a simple solution we made to like just get a handle on it, because you don't know what you don't know until you know it, right? Just some suggestions.
Yeah, I think Todd said they're shut down.
So.
Yeah, they are, but I don't know, yeah, that's a good suggestion though. I appreciate all of that. And Kayla?
Kayla Burchesky, 2503 West Margaret, part of Glendale. I just want to echo what Taylor said. We've done the same thing for the special ed department. So we have a list of all of our credit card statements, what every purchase was and for which account it should be accounted to. And we should have that done by the end of the week.
We can speak to that too from the building level. Anna Young, principal at Glen Hills Middle School, all of those accounts and expenditures have been logged. And so they have all of that information accessible to them.
Did I miss anyone? I know one of this. Okay. That was the monthly financials. Do you want to take over while I just the restroom?
No, I would ask for a recess for a personal break or a bathroom break.
Yes.
I second the bathroom break.
All in favor of, well, I should say 5 minutes. I'm sorry, I
would actually suggest maybe 7 minutes, just in case there's transition. Yeah.
Okay. So that's a motion to recess for 7 minutes from first. Second. All in favor, voice vote? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we will be back in 7 minutes. Thank you. To item 7C, which is our budget work update. I do believe we have a little bit of crossover with the financial conversation, but we have a executive summary that was prepared by Gus Nitt and Todd Gray, which is an update on our budget work. Or just. Oh, they're the same. Okay, well. Yeah, Todd and Gus, I would, where are they?
Yep, I will bring them up on your screen.
Yeah. If there's anything that you want to share that we haven't discussed already around our budget work. Could you please share now?
I would say at this point, I mean, it's not a revenue problem. I think we know our revenues this year and heading into last year, except for any dollars that might have not come in through ACH or that need to still be recorded in the Skyward system. However, I don't think those are real significant dollars unless they simply haven't been received yet. So there's that work, but we know what they're gonna be. We know with a fair amount of certainty what those numbers will be. It's the expense side that is needs most of the work.
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned in my portion of it as I prepare 24, 25, I'm going to work on the revenue portion first because that's going to be the easiest to take care of. Everything is pretty well, as the one gentleman said, everything is pretty well cut and dried. I know that. We'll have that and we'll start talking about that at the last meeting in April, and then we'll be working on expenses, and hopefully in May and June, we'll be talking about those and basically having everything for 24, 25, hopefully wrapped up by the end of June.
So then, gentlemen, I guess the question that we've asked before that we would ask consistently is if you need additional support for that, please do let us know, because we want to make sure that we're facilitating your ability to do those things as efficiently as possible. And I know there was a lot of background work that really required, I think, a particular skill set, but I'm wondering if at this point there's other things that we could tap into for you to make sure that you have the support that you need.
I will probably, from my end, for what I'm looking at is in finishing up the audit, I would probably know in the next day or two. But it's not, it wouldn't be a substantial amount. It would just be someone that would be able to go through a few areas. And the person from Skyward who's training Teresa, probably could give her the background in order to finish up the bank recs. If not, that's where we'd say, okay, we might need some help there.
Just to clarify for anybody, so Teresa would be in-house existing staff.
Correct. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions from the board?
And I would just say from my perspective, staff has been more than outstanding at helping and guiding me at this point. I've been able to try to get most of the information that I need to get started. So I'm not anticipating that if I do need some additional help, don't worry, I will let the board know.
Thank you. Any additional comment on this topic from the public? I know you had some on the, yeah.
This is the budget part?
Yeah, this is the budget. Yeah.
Sure. Again, Aaron Norris, 7240 North Parent Road. Thank you again for having me, and appreciate all the ongoing dialogue from not just the board, everyone in the room, but also the gentleman on the screen. So I handed out a few things, not to go through them again, but I handed out a few things to help provide helpful solutions as we move into the future. Potential class size major C's that you guys potentially look at adopting. A budget calendar. I believe Mr. Wynn had asked for that in a prior meeting about a financial stability efficiency committee of degrees. To me, those are all reasonable things to keep a calendar together of when these things come to you. But furthermore, I mentioned before, a budget is a reflection of priorities. And I know that certainly you guys prioritize student needs and staff, and I would agree with all that. And I think that's why we're here. And I think that's the work of education. I'm certainly a massive advocate of public schools, very much supportive of the schools that I work in and supportive of the district that I live in, for you guys in Glendale. Schools are fundamentally underfunded and teachers are fundamentally underpaid. That's a fact, not a feeling. It's a reality. I know you guys are living through that, just like every other state of Wisconsin is. It's difficult in positions of leadership just like you guys are here today to make decisions on cutting. But it like is the essence of what we have to do, given of what I just said. And so when I say things like before of like $1 million seems light, I don't say that like lightly. Like it's very difficult to make these decisions because they're people. But the reality is budgets are built on 60 to 70% of staffing. So like when you discuss those things, I know it's very hard. And I know the closed session nature of a small district, it has to be. So for the community listening, it's like, it's not transparency, it's easily identifiable people. I say an EA in a 7,000, no one has any idea. You guys say it's like, well, there's 3. I completely get it. So I guess what I wanted to shift you to is, you know, some of the facts from what I understand. And if I'm incorrect, please interject. I certainly haven't sat with this for as many times as you're gonna staff. So from the audit in 21-22, there was $4.3 million roughly in fund balance in June of 22. That's roughly 30% of the fund balance of next year's expenses, which is a great healthy fund balance. The state recommends 20. You guys are in great shape. About 18 months later, from what I understand, it's minus 3.6 million. Is that correct?
2.6 minus 2.
This, go ahead, sorry.
I think it's minus 2.6 because we were already built.
Yes, the record is, it is what it is.
I wasn't sure.
The numbers are
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
It's
But
I think
hard
it-
for us to remember all of it in real.
I think it's minus 3.6
Okay.
on budget.
So roughly $7 million in 18 months. That's what, from 4.3 positive to minus 2.6, probably. Is that right?
Well, this is your chance to comment. I don't
Oh,
think we can
sure.
sit here and say,
I won't,
yes,
that-
that's correct.
That's my understanding. If that's
It's just a
incorrect,
lot of
I can find
numbers.
out later.
Yeah. but I
So-
would- yeah.
So to me, one of the areas that I struggle with, just a point of comment, is in October of 18, when the certified budget hearing you guys had. I'm unclear why the board would approve almost a $3 million fund pen deficit. You are able to not do that. It's the board's decision to approve that. So like, I understand that a lot of this is like accounting errors. It sounds like that's accurate. And that's really unfortunate. That's not something you guys would have known about. But that portion to me is something like the board is very aware of. And like, that's like, unless there's a plan to remedy that, you know. That to me is concerning as a taxpayer that would be approved. And I know that prior year, I believe staff received a 15% increase in compensation. Again, fully supportive of that. The districts who did that, Tosa, Milwaukee, all did it with the idea of, hey, we're gonna spend on fund balance, but we're gonna ask the voters to support it later because we have to do this. Like it was, we're gonna do this now, we're gonna write the check, but we're gonna have to cash it here later. Like, to me, like, I understand you guys did maybe know, but like, certainly the communities know of like who's approving these massive increases and no one else did. It was very few that did. So that's not certainly the whole story. I'm not making it seem that way. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying that to me is above and beyond. So not to shift here a bit, but like, I think from a leadership perspective.
Well, okay, that was 2 minutes, but I just wanted to, I don't want to cut you off necessarily. Do you have like, how much fun tonight?
I was just gonna end here if you guys.
Okay, no, I want you, yeah, please.
So a couple of just things that I would just recommend, like you guys consider. I would really consider making further staff or other budgetary cuts for next year. I think it's a zero-sum game. If you're minus from what he said, 3.6, you make $1 million cut, you're still minus 2.6 next year with the increasing costs. Like you're not gonna make a dent in it. I would look at contracted services and purchase services for non-essential functions and start cutting those. That's something I would do. I really would consider, I know this year you guys approved a $2.3 million community service tax levy for deferred maintenance, but what I understand of the Good Hope School. That previously was a $500,000. Okay, that difference is $1.8 million. That to me is a great idea for 24-25. Bring the 80 levy back to $500,000 where it used to be. That is a pocket of money you could ask the community for upfront because the community's already paying for it. So when you talk about like, we're not going to make the community feel it, that's a great example of how they don't have to feel it. They're already paying the 2.3 million, shift the money, 500,000 stays at 80, and the 1.8 can go to the community to help support getting out of the hole. I mean, that's a great solution. Develop budget calendar and the financial stability efficiency committee. And then I would review kind of what the long-term plans with Good Hope. So I'll finish up there.
Thank you.
I know Carla's gonna be mad, but I'll just respond quickly in saying that, in October, when we learned we had a deficit, we, began working on creating a budget calendar. I started looking at, what can we do? And if you go back to the October meeting, you'll see us talking about what can we do to make sure this doesn't happen again. A budget calendar, a board work calendar was created. I think those things could continue to use, could be improved upon, but we were, adamant about putting policies and practices in place that may not have existed before, so that anybody else coming into our shoes will have that as a point of systems, correct? Yeah. And then I think that was, yeah, so I just wanted to say that those things could hope is something we are talking, those are things that are on our radar. And so I really appreciate your support and engagement.
Thank you.
Thanks. One more, hi.
Hi.
Do you want to come up or you want to, okay,
Right here.
okay.
Hands off, 2115 West Applewood Lane. I'm just gonna make a couple comments. One is when the board is looking at what we're really doing is restructuring. Restructuring should look from the top down. Restructuring should be look at our partner schools, how they're doing things. Do we want to do the same things? Do we not want to? As a community member, I would like to know in the past 3 years, how many district employees have been hired? I'm not talking about teachers. I'm not talking about paras. I'm talking about district employees. I'm talking about that each building of 500 students has a principal and has an assistant principal. They also have numerous building subs. Things like that need to be looked at. The community wants to see that. We don't want to feel the pain. We don't want the students, our students, because we're all educating these students to feel the pain. But we are very district top heavy, very. I counted over a dozen district employees that do not have any contact with children. Not a single one of them. They probably have legitimate jobs. But when we are talking about a $3.6 million deficit, that needs to be looked at, not the teachers, not the aides. You can talk about retirement, you can talk about attrition, fine. It's not gonna be $3.6 million. You don't want to touch class sizes. You got to look someplace. My suggestion is to look at the district. You also have a very reliable resource. Your educators in these buildings are our best resources. Ask them, talk to them. I know that you say that you go to events. We all go to events. Go to the school when you're not expected. Let the teachers see that you're watching a classroom. You're making decisions without seeing it. That concerns me. You need to be in the buildings. You need to be visible. You need to not ask the principals. The principals are going to tell you what you want to hear. Your staff needs to be involved. Please utilize them. Thank you.
Any other comment?
Anything online?
Okay. We're gonna move on to item 7B, which is a discussion around the NATC transportation update. You will see that our superintendent provided some information about this discussion item and included the FAQ document that was put together for all the districts in the consortium. And I think in her absence, I'm not sure sort of how many.
Would it be helpful to read that paragraph out loud that's in public content?
Could you put it up screen?
I can.
Okay, and Karen can read it.
Okay, yep.
Thank you.
Which particular paragraph?
The public, our NATC. Can.
Yep, thank you for being patient.
So with regards to the NATC transportation update, our partner school business managers have been working with Rightway to determine if they would recommend going to RFP, which is asking for recommendations or asking for bids from other companies, or contract renewal with Rightway. At this point, the NATC, which is the consortium of Nicolay and all of the feeder districts, has recommended that we continue to work with Rightway. The original communication was shared with the school board through updates. After this communication was sent with all partner district school boards, the superintendents made a request to provide each board an opportunity to ask questions and to then create a back document providing consistent information to all districts. This document is being shared with the board. The document is being shared with partner district school boards this week and next. The NATC is still working to finalize a contract and has sent the paperwork to legal. If a final contract is finalized, it will be shared with all partner school district boards for a vote.
So if anybody wants to or has questions, we can bring it back to our team or the NAPC or anything to discuss right now. We can do that, or we can keep moving. Yeah.
Well, I don't have any questions, but
Okay.
I do have a comment. I just had it in context. And I haven't quite decided yet, but I sit on two boards. We've actually been through this with other people. People who are on two boards can deliberate on both sides of the issue, meaning Glendale and Nicolay. I'm not going to be voting on both sides. It's just a matter of I don't know if it's gonna be in April anyways, but regardless, it just aligns. I want to go out myself, but I have spent some time talking about this, over on the Nicolay side of things, and I also have a lot of perspective here from Glendale. So without talking about specifics of the agreement, I think it's relevant to the discussion that we've been having today. Just kind of take a breath and talk about what the consortium is and what it's done, and the difficulty in school bus funding in general. We talk a lot about unfunded mandates and increased costs that we can't control. Busing has been one of those. Frankly, during the pandemic, we funded, I think, about 60 or 65% of our busing costs because to do otherwise would have had dire consequences if we just abandoned Rightway and then tried to reboot from then on. And so we made a deliberate choice as boards to really stand up for our partners in a time of crisis. And at the same time, Glendale had some unique issues with busing that stemmed from the change in school time that Nicolay had been proposing. There were some differences in cost and so on. And so I don't want to say that there's some butting heads, but there was a difference of opinion about where busing contracts should be and how the routes came to be, and whether or not we ought to go out to RFP. And as a lawyer, I can tell you that whenever you have a plan B, you have negotiating leverage. And even sometimes just having that threat of being able to go out and get an RFP is enough to kind of bring people to the table. And I'm not saying that Rightway needed to be threatened or anything like that. Rightway has always been a partner and always been responsive, whatever side of the board that you're on. But it's a huge expense that we bear. And so it needs to be managed in a good way. And so the way that we do it is that we have a consortium among school districts, and that we go out and we solicit either bids in an RFP, or we go to Rightway. And we went back to Rightway. I think that in the tenor of the conversation, there was some discussion about, looking at other options and so on and so forth. And what's been presented to me, again, everyone here is going to have to look at this and ask some questions, was a full throttle negotiation with a lot of considerations in place, considerations that will affect feeder schools potentially, depending on how we do cost saving measures on the road, But there's room for discussion of where the stops are gonna be, whether or not we're gonna have communal stops, or whether or not we're still gonna go to every driveway. And those things that can be addressed separately, within the school district. But, you know, it's all part of the package. The pricing has been described to me, is really hard to, it's really hard to evaluate from district to district, because every district has different sizes, every district has different needs. Not all the buses always work all the time. And sometimes there are, as you probably saw in our check register, there are additional costs that come when our buses can't satisfy. Some districts are not even using buses, for example, to go to school districts or competitions using vans and private transportation. And we've done a lot of that here. What I want to stress is that shared services agreements, either as a consortium or as a standard 6630 shared service agreement, are a great tool that we in Glendale, that we in the community in the Nicolay Partner District have always used to minimize costs and to increase flexibility. So as a general rule, I would encourage everyone to to look at this carefully and to realize that this is a great way for us to minimize to the greatest extent possible those costs that are there. There were some decisions that went forward that did not involve Glendale because of staffing issues, as I understand it, at the time. But as I understand it, there is unanimity, and Glendale's going to have to look at this a little bit further on its own. But I think that when you stay together and you negotiate together, overall, you're better off trying to go to our own RFP, which is something, frankly, I mean, I always advocate for different numbers to look at. But I think the reality of it is this could be good alternative towards. It's going to lead to a potential 5-year agreement, I believe, 3 years followed by 2 successive 1-year options. So we get a chance to get this thing into motion. And there's going to be increased accountability with respect to potential damages that are out there, you know, in the event of problems with busing and so forth. So a lot of the concerns that I think parents have had about busing that they brought to the districts, a lot of that has been talked about in great depth. And so when we do get to this, I do think that we need to have administrative input on this. You're right, it's just for a discussion item, but I wanted to kind of give some historical perspective to that and just generally endorse the idea of adopting, you know, a group contract that would be negotiated. So that's all I wanted to add.
Thank you. That was comprehensive, and that is we're appreciative of your years of experience, you know, and being able to give us that background. Another thing that came to mind when you were talking is that increased communication, right, from Right Way to parents and communications out and utilizing the app. That's sort of one of the things that came out of the negotiations and being a potentially a new.
Yeah.
Cameras, right? So, and I think when we discuss this again, we'll notice it obviously, and we'll be able to talk about some of those the improvements, the things we anticipate, and the ways we can keep everybody accountable. Oh, there's a comment. Okay, yep.
Stephen Trigg of 2138 West Apple Tree Road is asking, is the new contract with Right Way considering removing busing to residences within a certain radius of the school buildings? For example, if you live within a 1/4 mile of the building, busing would not be provided.
Thank you for that question. There's actually a variety of, I might misspeak and say laws, but there are requirements in place for certain areas that include Glendale-River Hills in particular, where it's considered high risk area. And so far, because of that, because we're considered a high risk area, we are unable to require something like a walking radius. The other thing that is a point of exploration, but not something that we can immediately do as a district, is explore the potential of changing from house to house pickup drop off to group sites. Those two are reliant on safety concerns, and those are determined by a study from the sheriff. So these are things that are addressed in the current proposal, and there are certainly things that we want to consider, but some of them are frankly out of our control. And that speaks to that financial burden that that we have to own, but we don't have any control over.
Sorry, when you say high risk, you're talking about like our not having
Our
sidewalks,
roadways, yes.
roadways being busy and
Yes.
intersections, things like that. Okay, Andy?
Well, I was also gonna add, in addition to not having full control of costs, which is a problem not just for us, but also for, the right way in general. Because of, for example, needing to track reliable drivers and tips that we had over some time. One thing that always need to be stressed is one aspect that we have virtually no control over, and that is busing parochial student children to parochial schools. And I think that the rule is that for any parochial school that's in our district, we have to bus anyone who lives within 5 miles of that school. And so we are responsible for oftentimes paying either private, which we've done before, private transportation where a parent can take 2 kids and claim payment for 2 separate rides. And we have to, reimburse this. We can also be responsible just in general for a bus that goes around and bring people in. The reason why I'm saying that now is in addition to this being a continuing problem is over by Cardinal Stritch, whatever the heck happens and whatever promises may or may not be made, there could be unforeseen financial impact I think districts are looking at about whether or not we're going to have an influx of busing that we have to deal with. Right now, I don't think that's the case. And it does affect the play because how, at least immediately, because of the grade that it may be starting with, but it does affect the feeder schools. It does affect us. So that's just something to keep your eye on, but you can only control so much.
And just to round back to the current proposed, the other benefit that is in this current contract is that there would be more frequent analysis of true bus loads and bus attendance, so that consolidation might occur more often, which is a cost savings that we can control. So that's a positive. Yeah. I feel like I'm yelling.
Okay, we're good to move on. Okay, support staff, sorry, I thought you were saying, 70 support staff, 4,000 second readings.
Okay, so I'm looking at this agenda and seeing we are three plus hours in. For E, which is support staff 4,000 second readings, F, Neola process updates, and G, crowdfunding policy. These are agenda items that I think we really need let me first talk about E through G. Those are the ones I'm thinking about. We need our superintendent to be here to answer questions, and she was unable to be here today. So I propose that we postpone agenda items 7E, 7F, and 7G to the Cal meeting in 2 weeks.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to postpone item 7E, F, and G to our April 3rd Cal meeting. Any discussion? No? Okay.
If there's not
Any discussion? Okay. Okay, so then we could just do a roll call, not roll call, voice vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes, so those will be postponed to our April Cal meeting. We can move on to item 7H, which is the length of administrative contracts. This was an item,
I'll move to postpone item H till town meeting,
want to do the Cal meeting or you want to just do like a future? Date?
future date.
Okay. That, yeah, you can only hit that. It would be.
Postponing indefinitely is like the kill switch. We don't want to do that.
No later than the April meeting.
Yeah.
Are you guys
let's-
still on the board for the April meeting? You are, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
So no later than,
so that,
let's say,
so the April board meeting.
sure.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to postpone item 7H to the April board meeting. All in favor, vote say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, that item passes. That moves us on to our meeting closing.
Quick question.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, on the
If you don't mind, I came to speak about that.
length of administrative
Yeah.
contracts.
If I can just do it here, it's really quick. So
Well, so
you asked
since we're
before,
not gonna discuss that tonight,
you asked
not sure.
before, so I just wanted to know.
discussion before we voted and I didn't see you.
Yeah,
Okay,
if you don't
yes,
mind.
I'm sorry. I
So
apologize.
just really quick. So this was something I believe that got brought up before.
Mhm.
And it's something that I strongly fundamentally disagree with. And I know that it hasn't been a unilateral decision. I know someone before was speaking about administrators in the district. I've looked at the staffing of administrators. I don't see a reason. You're very comparable with administrators in our districts. And I just gotta say, at a time where all of you have said it's been a failed leadership to let the conversation happen here, that we're gonna de-incentivize to get future leaders to come here, that like, who's gonna come work here with the deficit like this, guys? And then the conversation's gonna be, hey, let's make contracts 1 year. The answer, I'm not saying that was suggested, but that seems to be the answer to this question. You wanna get the best people to come here and help fix these problems, so this never happens again. Like, if that means you open the checkbook, you do what you gotta do. I really hope you postpone this indefinitely. So I just gotta say that.
I appreciate that. We have not discussed this as a board. It was an item brought by a board member for discussion.
I understand.
And so we were going to engage in that conversation. And just quickly to your point of failed leadership. I'm not gonna. The team that I'm looking, this team right here, I don't want them to go anywhere. They are working collaboratively. They are working their butts off, just like our staff. And so I'm saying, so I don't want that to be like to overshadow, and that's not, and so so because there's a big board discussion on this topic, I wouldn't presume to know how the board feels about this. But I appreciate what you said, so thank you. So meeting closing, so review of to-do items. This is a new item that I have added, and it's more something for us to just get used to. I think it would be good for us as we close to review anything we've discussed in the meeting that's an open to-do item that we know needs follow-up. I'm just kind of working to keep us all on the same page as an admin team and board. I'm not certain that anything tonight would require that, but I just am thinking about this as an ongoing agenda item.
And so just to clarify how we would utilize this, are we suggesting that over the course of a meeting, we would specifically assign these to-do items? And so we would have a timeline and an individual who's specifically responsible?
Yeah, I'm open to feedback about how this agenda item works. I envisioned like if we're having a conversation and a couple things have come out of it and we said, hey, we want more information on this, or we need somebody to do X, then that is where we're sort of documenting that, and that's where we're gonna keep coming back to it, because things can get lost as you get embroiled in something new, shiny or whatever, so just keeping us coming back to those things. That's all. So I don't have any right now. Any comment, any thoughts? Okay. Moving on to future agenda topics and meeting dates. Does anybody have any future agenda topics or meeting dates to propose?
I have been thinking about onboarding, which I know has taken a back seat, but we are gonna have either 2 or 3, hopefully 2, I'll say it. Hopefully only 2 new board members. So we need to think hard about onboarding. We did a bunch of work last year to kind of lay the groundwork for it, and I've been thinking that we should probably have a special working meeting for onboarding before you're gone, if you're willing to participate, Andy and Ben. That we could get our brain trust into a room in an open session. We're putting together a lot of onboarding materials. We have excellent support with Taylor, who's been bugging me and Danielle about getting onboarding going. So I think it would be great if we had a working session. WASB has a nice resource. I bet in 2 hours, we could do really, really strong onboarding, especially if all the board members who are currently at this table were here to support that effort.
I would like to comment on that by saying, it's called back. There was someone that I recently heard speak who said, if you're not doing it for the students and their outcome, then you shouldn't be doing it at all. And I think that having the opportunity to onboard people would be a great way to impart institutional knowledge, or frankly, gaps in lessons learned. So I'd be huge honor to be part of that.
Yeah, so like in mid-April, at some point, we would schedule a meeting to do that.
I would also like to suggest, though, that one great way to have onboarding is to do it around the retreat. And whether or not you call it onboarding or retreat, but to have an annual review of some of these things, like our SMART goals and priorities and whatnot. That's the intention.
Yeah, I like that. I think the onboarding is gonna be more like nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
Here you go here, here's things to read, here's things to know, here's where to go. And I think the retreat that will happen will build upon that, right? And will build upon governance and how to be an effective school board member and board goals, et cetera.
And really robust onboarding would involve administrators and teachers too, to help bring board members up to speed on some of the nuts and bolts and who to talk to and all of that. So I see it as like a really important first chance with new board members to build that sense of collaboration and transparency and participation that we talk so much about.
I would actually up the ante where I believe that, so that is a separate item, but one of the things I think that Danielle and I were particularly excited about from the event that we attended a couple of weeks ago was school board school. And I think longitudinally, creating a format where it's open to the community, everybody gets to come in every year and gets to learn exactly what being on a school board is. And in fact, when they were speaking to this, he said that in the areas that have instituted this consistently, they've been able to establish pretty much the people who run for school board have attended school board school, and they're coming in with a really solid understanding, not just of what school board is, but also what the district strategic plan is and the values and the mission and how to move forward. So I think longitudinally, like we should be looking at that as well.
It's a pipeline.
Yeah, perhaps that could be our first, I know it's not a student outcome goal, but I wonder if that would be something that could be a timeline specific kind of target.
Yeah, I envisioned public invitations to onboarding as well, which is consistent idea. Yeah.
We don't want to veer too much into the actual topic of onboarding, right? So
Doing a date right now.
yeah, I think let's say mid-April, and I can circle back to that because we'll want to think about logistics, plan, get that agenda. Anything else? Okay, it's everyone's favorite. It's board meeting debrief time. So if anybody has any thoughts about, celebrations or room for improvement, areas of growth, or just feelings about our meeting tonight, I would invite you to share. It's not mandatory. I won't make it mandatory. I mean,
It's not restorative.
that's great. That's why I love the ground and so, okay, fine. I just want to express gratitude to everybody who engaged online, who engaged in person. I don't, as a board, I'm not taking anything personally, right? This isn't about us, it's about the students. And so I'm open to all feedback. I think we all are open and we really do want to be engaged. And so I appreciate people who come out to give us different perspectives, things we might not know or have thought about. And even if you're upset, it means you care, and I'll take that. So I would just say thank you to everybody who came, and thank you to the admin team who has been, I'll keep saying it, working tirelessly and collaboratively with us. And thank you to the board. onto the news, I guess, for helping to take note of the hard work we're doing, and I would invite them to keep taking note of the good things that we're doing too. So. Okay.
I think you covered it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on to item 9.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Here's a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, voice vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We're adjourned.